Hey guys. Can you guys hear us? Are we good? It's a little bit of delay too.
Oh, good to know.
It's like 5 seconds or so.
Oh, yeah, it is.
Sweet. All right. Welcome.
Hello.
How you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
Good. Thanks for coming up here. Short notice.
Oh,
It's like yesterday, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, because I was up here Tuesday, and you're like, are you in Dallas? And I'm like, no, but I can be anytime you need me to.
Yeah, when I hit you up about it originally, I think you were headed to Born and Free.
Yeah.
But you went
in a
to
roundabout way. Yeah,
like
I went up
very
to
not
Iowa, then went all the way over. So
Iowa to pick up a bike, right?
Yeah. And then Bullhead City, and then Born Free.
Wait, Bullhead City? So Street Vibes? You did that though, but that was
No, I didn't do Street Vibes yet. I'm doing Fall Street Vibes. I'm
Okay.
a vendor at. I'm pinstriping there. So I've never been though.
I have. It's pretty cool.
Is it?
A lot of club vibe up here.
Okay, well, as long as I get pinstriping, I don't really give a
Yeah,
shit.
it'll be fun.
So.
You'll be good up there. Yeah. So how was Born Free? Like your first time?
Yeah, that was my first time, and it was. I don't want to say it was overwhelming because like there's Sturgis and there's Daytona and there's stuff too, but it was. I don't know. It was a really cool vibe. I love California so much as is. I use any excuse to go over there.
Mm-hmm.
So it just happened to work out that our trip was lining up with there, and we're just like, let's go to Born Free, and saw a bunch of cool people. I dug how like inclusive it was. It was very, very like a friends group type of thing. It wasn't like a huge bike event, so that was kind of cool.
Well, when you compare Born Free to Sturgis, like Sturgis, there's a lot of the same people there, but it's so many more people that it's not like Born Free is like a high school reunion for
That's
Instagram.
true, yeah.
You know what I mean?
And I feel like it's a lot more of like the younger generation of bikers and stuff, which that's kind of cool too. So
yeah,
it was a fun time. I want to go back. We only went for like 2 hours one day, so it wasn't even like we spent the whole weekend there. So I want to go back and like actually spend some time there. But
there's a lot of vendors to see, and then whether it's the Chopper Show or the San Diego Custom Show that they do with the Dynas and FXRs, there's so much to do. It's a good time.
And it surprised me because of how small like the venue seems. Like it kept going back into like different mazes and stuff. I was like, this is kind of cool. So I want to go back next year for sure. So
my first time I went, I kind of had mixed emotions about it, but at the time I had done one chopper event, which was Giddy Up.
Yeah. Okay.
And I kept wanting everything to be Giddy Up. Instead of like letting Born Free be
Giddy Up
Born
is
Free.
Cool. Giddy Up,
you know?
Giddy Up was the first like chopper show that I went to actually a couple years ago. Was it 2018? I think it was. Mm-hmm. And that one was really, really fun. I want to go and I haven't camped at any of these events yet. Sturgis I did like one night, but.
Were you at our campsite?
Yep. So
I think y'all were the loud motherfuckers that were there.
I was not. I went to bed so early that night. It was so fucking cold. Yeah, no, I couldn't hang that night. I went to bed, but. No, I rolled out of the tent the next morning, and you and Moses, well, I call him Moose, you guys were sitting there. I was just like, hey, guys, what's up? I was not planning on being there that night, so there's that. But, yeah.
Now, the camping aspect is the party never ends.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, there's a part of me that really likes that about events, but then there's also the part of me that's like, fuck.
I'm all about camping. I'm all about it, except I freeze my ass off. I mean, like, I'm freezing right now. So, like, when you put me in a tent somewhere at night, man, night I was wrapped up in, like, 2 sleeping bags. I was like, somebody's got to tuck me in because I'm not moving for the rest of the night. So
are you originally from Texas or are you from
No, I'm
PA?
from Pennsylvania.
Okay.
Born and raised in Pennsylvania. I lived there for the first 23 years of my life. And then I moved down here for a year. I was married at the time, and he wanted to go to school to be a pilot, which was down in Georgetown. So that's why we moved down there. And then when our lease was up on our house, we were renting a house out from a military family, and they were stationed overseas, and so they came back, and they obviously wanted their house back. So like, hey, we're like moving back in, find a different place to live. So like, okay, cool, we'll be on that. So then we went back to Pennsylvania, and I was miserable up there. So I was like, yep, put me back to
Yeah, I
Texas.
was wondering because if you're what would it be? Warm bodied or cold?
I don't even
natured,
know. I think it's like cold blooded that I would be.
You have a mic, so you can use it if you.
Okay. You can talk, but yeah, no, Pennsylvania was not for me. The fact that it's.
What part of Pennsylvania?
So I'm from Corryville, Pennsylvania. It's about an hour and a half west of Philly. It's nothing but Amish people. It's a great time. So
it's.
Very
I've only ridden through a very. I rode completely across Pennsylvania, but it was in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
So you can't see shit.
Yeah. No.
And then, but man, it's like there's nothing flat there at all. It's very.
So I actually love, like, Pennsylvania is gorgeous. Like it has its own beauty. But it's cold so often, and it's extreme. So like 6 months out of the year, you're 30, 40 degrees 100% of the time. And then there's 3 months that you'll be in the 80s, but the humidity level makes it feel like 120. Like it's way worse than anything that I've experienced in Texas. So like,
wow.
Yeah, it's not fun any time of the year. So I was just like, yeah. Some people in Texas wanted some work done. So I was like, well, I'm going to go back and do that. And
you got stuck here?
Just never left. So...
Yeah, we were up there. We were up there at the same time you were whenever you went to the Babes Ride Out thing.
Oh, I went up to the FXR Jam. Then.
And the FXR.
Yeah.
Did you do both, or
nope,
did you just do one?
I just did one. So I went up to Pennsylvania, and I was there visiting family, and then the FXR Jam was going on. They were like, just come up and say hi. So I went up there for the weekend, and then that's what's like started.
You kind of did the Triple Crown this year.
I did. I did. I did the Triple Crown, but
riding.
I drove.
Yeah.
So, and because Joe was joking about that when like we were giving the awards for Triple Crown, he's like, "Yo, you did this too," and I was like, "Yeah, but I drove. It's totally different." Like, so I did that. I did the West Coast FXR Jam, and then I did Sturgis too. I think that's it so far.
Yeah. So when you were up there in that area, so we were up there doing our trip, and there was like a massive heat wave going around. I don't know if you felt it there, but it was hot as shit in like New York and Boston.
I was gonna say, you guys went up to Maine and stuff, right?
Yeah.
That's cool.
It was,
surprisingly, for living in Pennsylvania, I've never been north of New York.
Bro.
Yeah, I've been across the rest of it, right? I want some like Maine lobster, and that's about it. Like,
I was disappointed in that.
why do you guys tell me that?
Because it was
like,
because I was just as let down as you're getting let down right now. Everybody's like,
doing it for me.
well, when people tell you about the source of something, you think, okay, well, I'm cutting out the middleman.
Yeah.
That shit was expensive as fuck. And you're like buying it from like basically seed drug people that are basically
like
dealing lobster. It's like this. It feels like very
sketchy.
It's like the people that were there. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, you'd get like a lobster roll. That's the thing, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know what it is. I didn't know if they say roll. I think sushi or some shit.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So then you get there and it's a fucking hoagie, and it's like a bunch of lobster in it. I'm like,
is it hot or cold?
It's cold. So I'm like, well,
I don't know if I would like that.
What sauce do you put on it? And go like, you just eat it like that. And it's like we have butter, and I'm like, okay, you got some cocktail sauce or some shit?
Cocktail sauce.
Like you have something like so you got
I
some.
like actual like lobster tail, so like that you do dip in butter. So I don't know if I would like all
yeah. So
that.
they had the butter, but the butter, like if I just took the lobster off the roll and dipped it in the butter, I'd be like, fuck yeah, this is awesome. But pouring the butter on the roll and eating it that way, it just
and
lacked.
There's nothing else. There's no like lettuce or anything.
Not that I know. I don't think there is.
That's dumb.
But yeah, I mean, and then it's like $30 fucking. I'm like, that's
for
fucking Texas prices. That's inland prices for this shit, man. Like,
well, I guess I won't be.
You didn't have to drive anywhere. You picked it up over there, dude.
Right? You like fished for it. And you're over here. Oh, that's funny.
Is their cost of living higher up there?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure about all that, but
yeah, I have no idea.
I don't know. I feel like there's probably a trade-off. Like, hey, if you lived up here, we're gonna take it easy on you. There's nothing going on.
Yeah, they knew you were just in town for the day.
Yeah.
Is it cold all the time up there? Well, you said
No,
there
it
was a
wasn't
heat
cold.
wave.
It wasn't cold. It was hot as shit. But I don't know. Like going northeast, it's kind of it's awesome because we're literally going to like. For some people, it's kind of the birthplace of America. Like, I don't want to get into comments. The Indians
but
had it
that's
first.
true because I never like growing up there. I never realized how like historical the area was until I moved away, and I was like, oh, the rest of the country isn't like this. Like, it's not the same at all. And it just even like the whole vibe, like just the types of houses up there are completely different and shit. So I get that.
I actually like you see my TV above my work. I watch so much YouTube, and I go down so many. I don't like to call them rabbit holes anymore, because back in the day when you used to watch YouTube, the concept of a rabbit hole was like you watch a music video from a band you like, but then it says, hey, do you want to know how fish
right? You just keep going.
fuck? You know what I mean?
Right? Some random fucking shit.
Yeah, and then the next one's like, hey, you want to know how a star is born? I'm like, yeah, dude, like, let's check it out. So nowadays it's like it just gives you the same shit over and over again.
Yeah.
And so before Sturgis, I kind of knew that I wanted to do a little bit of Northwest. And so I was like, 25 places in America that you didn't know existed. And I'm like, sign me up. Let's check it out.
Yeah, right.
So I'm just looking for anything that might be kind of dope to kind of check out on the road. And then, so that algorithm put me into how cities are made, like how cities are planned.
Okay.
And so, and then a lot of that had to do with, and stuff that I've already been interested in, but like in the Northeast, people had to walk everywhere.
Yeah.
So all town centers are 10 miles apart, because you could walk 5 miles. So basically, the goal was like you could walk 5 miles and be in the next town to trade or do something like that. It's so funny
that you say that then, because when I moved to Texas, I'm like, wow, these cities are like placed so far apart compared to the Northeast. Like, it shocked me because like
we were built from the railroads.
Yeah.
So the railroads, it made it 30 miles apart.
Okay.
So
I get it
Northeast
now.
are 10 miles apart. That way you could walk in, you know, a horse and carriage, take goods to be sold at a market. Or actually it was like every town was 10 miles apart from center to center, but there's a 5 mile radius between the next town. Okay. So you were always 5 miles away from a town center to sell something. And for here, it's usually a 30 mile radius. And that's basically like when you're building out a railroad, you can go out 15 or 20 miles building it, and then you'd have to walk back or ride the train back, basically. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get
So
you.
it's like, that shit fascinates me, because when you're riding, and you've done this now, especially in a car or on the bike, you're like, who the fuck thought it'd be a good idea to put a town here?
Right?
And it'd be like
all the time. Or even like when I'm like going through a town, I look at a map and it's like, oh, you're in a town, and you look up and you're in an intersection and that's it. And you're like, oh, okay, this is the town then.
This
like,
was going to be a nice town.
Yeah, let's just keep going, I guess. Like, yeah, that was one thing that I did like about driving from the East Coast to the West Coast, is it's one thing to like fly to these places, because across the country there's so many different landscapes and everything, and it's one thing to fly there and see this and like fly to all these different places. But to drive across the country and see how each landscape like transforms into the next is so cool to me, because like, I don't know, I always saw like the mountains in Colorado and you're like, how do they they just randomly start? Like, where do they start at? You know what I mean? And like, so
it kind of cool. Does though.
Right? It's just like this one random mountain in the like middle of Colorado. Then it's just,
I think it's like it's kind of weird, because like if you're coming, did you ever like drive east to west, like into Colorado?
Yeah. So I took 70 across.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, there's some badass roads on 70.
Yeah.
But yeah, you take 70 and it's like you see Denver first, right?
Yeah.
And so it doesn't really give that same, but just
until, like from East Colorado until Denver, there's nothing.
Nothing.
It's flat as
it's
shit.
Kansas.
Yeah. And I like the first time I went through Colorado, I went up or like south to north on the east side. And I was like, this is not what I thought Colorado was. I was like, this is dumb. Like, I'm so mad. And then, like, we actually went over into the mountains. So I was like, okay, I get it now. But, yeah, I was definitely surprised that it just kind of started very abruptly.
Yeah, there wasn't, like, Denver there. Wasn't all the city built. And it would literally look like, so California has massive amounts of foothills between the mountains. I don't feel, I could be wrong, but I feel like the Rockies don't have the same type of foothills. Are they?
Not at all. They're very rigid and very just.
It's
yeah, literally like here it is. Yeah. Here's the start of the Rockies. So, nope. Yeah, I understand that.
But yeah, I don't know. It's fascinating to me, like just doing all that stuff. But what? So when you came here, like first off, where does 13th Street Airbrushing come from?
Okay, so we'll just start from the beginning. So growing up, I guess I never was like, I like sketched a lot, but I never was like an artist. Mm-hmm. My mom threw me in a bunch of like random art classes, like through 4-H and stuff that were just weekends here and there. So then high school came along and I was like, well, let's see what this is all about. And I actually took an art class and it was hell. I got suspended so many times from that teacher. Just like, I don't know what it was. I just did not get along with her. And I thought it was because I was being told what to draw. And I was like, okay, I can't be an artist then, because like I can't be told what to draw. I just like to do my own thing. So then I actually, I had no idea what I wanted to do with my life. And my parents' only rule growing up was that we had to go to college. Like that was the bottom line. And so, like, I was about to graduate. It was April of my senior year. I was about to graduate. My mom came up and she's like, you better get ready to pay rent. And I said, why is that? She said, you didn't even apply to college anywhere. Like, what are you doing? And I was like, I don't know. Like, what do I do? And so I've always been into cars and been in, like, the automotive side. And she's like, well, why don't you go to school for painting cars? And I was like, oh, like, you can do that? I didn't know that. Like, let's go. So there was a local school called Thaddeus Stevens College of Technology that I applied to and ended up getting in that year. And so I started in the collision side of things. And so it's a 2-year program, and you graduate with an associate's degree. So I graduated there in 2015. And then I was a damage appraiser for 2 years. And then while I was a damage appraiser, my mom got me an airbrush for Christmas one year. And I never touched it for a while because I just didn't know how to use it. And then J.R. Fogelsonger posted on Facebook that he was looking for an apprentice.
And that's the Bizarre Artist?
Yeah, Bizarre Artist, yeah. So I was like, well, somebody sent it. I didn't even know who he was. Somebody just sent me the post, and I was like, what the hell, why not? So I messaged him, and I was like, hey, like, I'm into airbrushing and stuff. I kind of want to learn. And he was like, well, come by my shop. So then I just ended up hanging out there for a while and picking it up.
What was it? So you apprenticed with him?
Yeah.
So what would that kind of entail?
So it started out as an apprenticeship, but it ended up just being me and him were really good friends, and we just like hung out all the time. Hey, JR, there he is.
Hell yeah.
Speaking of the devil. But yeah, so we just kind of hung out. We became really good friends, and like he brought me on with the intention that I would motivate him to get some stuff done. But then when I would get there, he would just be like, so what do you want to work on today? And I'm like, well, I want a gold leaf. And he's like, all right, let's like learn how to gold leaf. And we wouldn't work on anything that we were supposed to. So
yeah.
But I learned so much from him. And to this day, I actually have like a resentment towards him because anything that he's taught me with him, I can do it perfectly. But then I go back to my shop and I try it on myself, and it's hell. Like, it's absolute shit. And I'm like, okay, cool. Thanks, JR. You're just like meant to do this. So then I just, I went out on my own, and I was doing a lot of body shop, like little bumper job stuff here first. As far as 13th Street Airbrushing was born, like, I don't know. When I went off on my own, I didn't know what I wanted to call myself necessarily. And I love the number 13. And when I was growing up, I did all, like when I would sketch, it was all graffiti art. It was all like I still am. I'm obsessed with graffiti. I absolutely love it. So I was like, well, if I'm going to do art, I want to do like a street style art. So I was like, I'll do 13th Street Airbrushing, so 13th Street Airbrushing has never been on 13th Street, which like I kind of like, but then I kind of like don't, because I have to explain that to people all the time that I'm like, it's not actually on a 13th Street.
You need to make up a different story every time someone asks you.
Right? Like some crazy shit I should. So then 2016, I actually went out on my own with it, and I was doing a lot of body shop work and stuff. And then 2017, I started riding myself, and which like I've always been on the back of a bike and stuff, like my dad rides and shit, but when I got on my own bike, I was like, I need to revolve my life around motorcycles. Like, that's what I want to do. So then that's when I really started getting into like the custom side and painting bikes, and I still do some helmets, but I try to focus on bikes just because I like them better. So
yeah.
But
like helmets, right?
Yeah, literally. And so now we're here, and I just paint bikes and ride.
So when you first started doing it, did you get requests from like a lot of different shit, like mailboxes?
Yeah, so I did a lot of like just
toilet seats.
Yeah, random bullshit for a long time, and like since I started with JR, I did a lot of helmets, but I did like just dumb license plates, like all that bullshit for a long time. And then it wasn't until about a year and a half, 2 years ago that I like strictly started on bikes, that I was just like, I only want to do. And even now, like I'll still pick up a helmet here and there. I'll still do something random, like that Lincoln mural I just did. I'll do some shit like that, but I try to stick mostly to bikes just because they're fun.
You know, like the ability to work with a guy like that, you know, like JR. I didn't know who. I just knew his brand name. Because I started following this shit too, because when I started getting into helmet paint myself, like, obviously you want to surround yourself, like, what is the helmet paint world going, like, what is the norm, what is the vibe, the style, and partly because inspiration from these guys, but also like, okay, that looks like their work too much.
Yeah.
I need to, you know, I'm influenced by them, but I need to dial it back to my own shit, you know what I mean? But yeah, I wish I would have grown up in that setting where, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, 100%. And I to this day, I wish I spent more time around JR. Like, I feel like I definitely jumped the gun a little bit when I did go off on my own. I just hate working for other people. Like it's not my thing.
Yeah.
So like I definitely was like I need to go on my own.
You know the hardest part that I think, and I don't know, but when you want to apprentice someone to learn how to airbrush or custom paint, like if I was to say, hey, you want to come learn how to airbrush, right? I would say, like, well, what do you want to do with it? I want to be able to paint motorcycles. I'm like, all right, well, this is algebra 7, right?
Right?
We need to go back here, and you got to learn how to sand. You got to learn how to do all this
Yep.
dumb shit that's not fun. You don't
Yep.
get famous for. But it's so important, and a lot of people that like want to get into paint, they see the end result, but the end result is because you've got years of experience prepping, painting.
Yep.
Like I guarantee you can paint better than I can. I haven't painted a car. Remember when I painted my Acura and I streaked the fuck out of it? Yeah, I don't paint cars.
See, that's why I am thankful that I went to school for collision repair, because that gave me the foundation to be able to grow so fast with this, because I learned all the prep work, and I learned pretty much the quote unquote dirty work in that aspect. And like the cool part about it wasn't just like an 8-month certification program or like 7 months. It was a 2-year degree program. So like we learned you had to have a certain amount of welding hours per semester, and like it was a very strict thing. So like that gave me the foundation to be able to do absolutely everything, that I'm not just an airbrush artist or I'm not just a pinstriper. Like I can, because I actually started both airbrushing and pinstriping just to add to my own jobs. I didn't start them to be an airbrush artist or a pinstriper. I just wanted to incorporate them in my paint jobs. And so that's just kind of where it all started.
Yeah, Matt actually went to
UTI.
Okay.
Every time you say UTI, I think of a different thing.
Right? No, me too. Me too. I'm all,
It was
I'm
funny.
the same way.
I didn't think about it till after I started school there. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Well, because when you are applying to school, you're just thinking about school. You're not thinking about like
The acronym.
Yeah, right.
But he did the same thing, and he did like high-end collision work for like Mercedes for the last
I did it for 15 years.
Yeah.
I had a dealership here. So.
Oh man, and this is where like I kind of realized that I was meant for the custom world, because like, and we were just talking about this earlier when I first got here, is like when you're in a body shop, and like for the first couple years that I was on my own, I still would fill in for painters. Like, so if a painter would go on vacation in a body shop, I'd go in for that week and just paint for him pretty much. And I struggled so hard with it though, because this car would come in and this bumper's messed up and you're getting paid to fix this part of the bumper, but there's this 2-3 inch gouge on this other side of the bumper that you're not getting paid to fix. So guess what? You got to clear over that. And like, you still got to put this thing out the door.
And then the customer might complain. You might have to end up fixing it for free.
Yep. And they're just like, you already fixed this bumper. Why didn't you fix the rest of it? And you're like, well, your insurance company didn't give me the money to do that. So I don't know what to tell you. And then that was the hard part about being a damage appraiser, is now I'm the one stuck in the middle between the shop and the customer of them bitching. And I mean, it was a fun job because it was at an auction. It was at Mannheim Auto Auction. It's the biggest auction in the world, especially the Pennsylvania location. And it was cool because we got really high-end cars. Like, all like these famous people would bring their cars through. Like Lil Wayne's Lamborghini came through and shit. And like we got to drive them and stuff. And that was like the only cool part about that job. But otherwise, it was absolute hell because like we would have to sit here and write these reports on these cars, and then the person selling it is getting pissed off at us because we're writing all this damage, and then the person buying it is getting pissed off at us because we're not writing enough damage on it. So it was not fun. So I was like, yeah, I'm out. I'll see you guys later. And like I just went and painted. So
yeah, doing auctions is crazy. But then if you go
put the mic
like,
in your face.
If you go work at like the docks, the import docks like Mercedes, any Asian car, anything like that, they have body shops there, and they will do that under a certain amount of money to repair it. They'll do it and not even have to report it. So you might be getting a brand new car and it's damaged and you just don't know.
Yep.
So.
That was always a fun part.
I never did much collision. Like my dad was he had a body shop growing up, and it was called JMH, which is my initials and his initials.
That's cool.
Custom paint and body, right? And that was like the most common back end of a paint shop was custom paint and body, right? And it's like, when I was growing up, like I thought this was the lamest thing in the world because I was forced to go in the summer times and sand cars and do shit, and there was nothing custom about it. Like, motherfucker, this is a Taurus.
This is a Taurus.
Like there was nothing custom about it, so it was like so unappealing as a career choice.
Yeah.
And when I got the opportunity to go wet sand because I was forced to do it as a kid, and I knew how to do it. And when I got the opportunity to go do that for a living, essentially at a custom motorcycle paint shop, it bridged the gap between my artistic nature of wanting to, not so much like I've always just wanted to design things, not like I want to be an artist where I draw things and I graffiti. I've always appreciated, but never really took I never practiced it. Right. I just liked design. I liked architecture. I liked just anything that was creative that meant designing and making something.
Yeah.
And when I got that job, I was like, well, fuck, man. Like, I didn't know that this existed in the automotive industry, right? Because I didn't go to school for it.
Yeah.
I avoided
even when
it.
I went to school, though, they told me, because I told them from the start, I said, I'm here to be a custom painter. And they're like, no, you don't want to do that. Like, body work is where your money's at.
It
and
is,
I'm like, it definitely is, but that's not what I want to do. And, like, I'm very adamant about what I want to do, and this is it. So let me do it. So, but it was cool, though, because since I did tell them that I wanted to be a painter, they focused a lot on teaching me the paint side, more so the body work side. So I'm way slower at body work than I am painting, obviously, but it works out, so I can't complain.
Yeah, I still have Matt do all my body work. There's some things.
He's like, yep, that's true.
I mean, he's fast at it because he did it so much that, like, me, I second guess everything when it comes to body work. I'm like, is that perfect?
Yep, I gotta like prime it and then like do some more body work and then like prime it again. I'm like, I gotta make sure this shit is like right.
I just get overwhelmed with it. I'm like, I'm not a body guy. I have a body guy.
I have a body guy. You might as well utilize it.
Just start calling you my body guy instead of my machinist.
Yeah, my body guy. That's a good name.
Yeah, it is pretty good.
You
should take his logo
name?
too.
Yeah.
Literally do everything except just change it to body guy. You're good.
Well, I did that bead roll for him. Now I'm going to do my own.
Yeah. So you're pretty much my machinist.
I still
now.
got the die.
Yeah, Matt made the bead roll logo behind you for us.
Okay, look at that.
So he made one for my machinist, Texas Performance, and another person, right? Steve,
yeah.
Yeah, Screaming Speed and Fab.
Oh, and Justin.
And Justin, yeah. Oh, yeah, Hang 'em High got one too. But yeah, that's I don't know, like I never thought that I was going to go down this path for paint work. You know what I mean?
Me too. Like, regardless that I like had an airbrush and like I went to school for collision. Then when I was in school for collision, I was like, oh, whatever, I'll just be a painter in a body shop the rest of my life. That's fine. I never intended to. I don't know. I never could envision like what I'm living now was never an option to me until like it started happening, and then I was like, oh, okay, this is it now. We're just gonna run with it and hope for the best.
It's a very, to like, if you're a new painter and you're like envisioning the brand that you have, like the cost of entry to have like a legit paint shop is so high.
Oh my God, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like we're talking like not to mention paint guns, which are basically $1,000 a piece. You get to sanders, compressor, like a starter kit on. You know how they have starter kits for like powder coating and everything in the world. It's like a starter paint business is like got to be $30,000.
Oh my God, yeah. The booth alone is insane. And then not only that, you got all the licenses and all the contracts you got to do with like your counties and cities and bullshit and that kind of stuff. Like, and like we were talking like. How many booths did, like, starting out, you build your booths until you can, like, afford to actually buy one?
I built a frame once and then plasticked the whole thing.
Yep.
And painted out of that for 2 years.
Yep. The first time I moved to Texas, my first booth was all plastic walls just hanging in my garage. But I tell you one thing, I got some of the cleanest jobs out of that thing. And, like, I don't know. That's what it is. Got to do what you got to do sometimes.
Yeah, there's so many, I painted in a tin. You know how like a lot of shops would have like they'll have a regular door you walk in, but then they'll have the bay doors, and then that one door has a 10x10 office.
Yeah,
I painted sport bikes in that shit back in the day.
You gotta do what you gotta do.
Man. And
like,
it's so crazy. Like I mean, at the time, it's like you're not getting paid a lot of money to do those type of jobs. So it's like, but you think in my mind, like when I think about it, I'm like, oh fuck, I'm getting $500 to paint this Hayabusa, like I'm going hard on this motherfucker.
Right?
You know what I mean? And then like you look at your conditions and like, oh, you just paid me $500. I'm painting a 10x10 office. Yep. And the window's not even a vent. It's
like a window with a box fan in it. I've had that before plenty of times. I'm like, that's my.
It's like I go in there and paint, and then once I'm done with a coat, you go and then you crack the door and just kind of like
you take like a blow gun in there and you're like blowing all your overspray out. You're like,
yeah.
This is my air movement. Yeah. Oh, I'm so glad I'm not the only one.
Then you take it to a bike show and like, check it out. You're like, dude, it looks like ass.
Yeah, right.
You're like, fuck you, man. You don't know what it's like.
You have no idea the conditions I did this in.
Yeah.
I feel that.
There's just levels to it, you know, and I think I was talking to Joe about this, is that I would never paint something for less than I want to, but I did that shit at some point in my life. And there's like, there's a guy that only has $1,000 and there's somebody hungry that needs the opportunity, and that $1,000 would actually do them some good.
Yeah.
So there's like a circle of life when it comes to painters and opportunities, that as you do more and get better, those jobs get higher, and the value of your work becomes higher because you've got time under your belt now. You know?
Yeah, and you've put your time in, you've experienced those things, and like that's also what helps. Like, I don't know, like when younger painters come to me and they're so discouraged about shit like that, and I'm like, homie, we all did that. Like, we all started there. Like, you can keep going. It's just a matter of
if you think like you're gonna do this for a year and like make some bank, bro.
Right.
Want to make bank, bro? Yeah.
Make bank.
A lot of those schools, like UTI and stuff like that,
they tell you that.
They tell you, you'll be able to do this on your own, no problem.
Oh yeah, they're like, so leave. Thaddeus Stevens is a wonderful school. They're great, but they're always like, yeah, you have a 98%.
She's got a pending sponsorship.
Right over here. Okay, can you pay my student loans, please, Jesus? So, but no, they're literally like, yeah, you have a 98% chance of getting a job, and I'm like, okay, I did not have a 98% chance of getting a job at all. But no.
You know, so I used to change oil at Walmart. That was what I did before I started painting.
Okay.
And you know why? I did that?
What?
Because I wanted to be a mechanic, and that was the closest thing to being in a mechanic space.
So growing up, like when you like in elementary school and stuff, when you like were to like explore the career that you wanted to do, it was my thing was always a mechanic. But I didn't realize that because I wanted to do something with cars and like the automotive side. But I didn't realize that there was more than just being a mechanic. Like, I didn't realize, like, you don't think about, like, just the different positions, like a painter and all that good stuff, so.
So when I was working at Walmart, like, the thing is that I'm competent and I'm able to solve problems. Like, I'm a problem solver, you know? And I think that's one thing people don't talk about enough, is that when you are a problem solver, you can do well in life because you solve fucking problems.
Yeah, and you just have the initiative to do so.
And so when I worked at Walmart, like it never occurred to me how some people just didn't get simplicity.
Right.
So
okay.
Some dudes they'd go, we have a school here called Lincoln Tech. And it's basically like a vocational school where people go to learn how to do paint, mechanics, like all across the board, diesel mechanic, everything you can do. It's like, you know, automotive based. And so, like they said, they promised kids jobs. They were getting them jobs at Walmart, changing oil. Right. And these kids would graduate and they'd come in there. And there's some people that's good at just going to school. And there's some people that are good at actually working. And and I'd see the difference. I like, oh, you need to be told what to do. Like the whole time.
Like
an assignment.
Yeah.
You know, like, and
they won't do anything until they're waiting for that.
Yeah,
next
what next? You know, like, oh yeah, you're never gonna work here.
Yeah,
right? It's not gonna work out, bro. Like, you need to go get I hate saying this word, but I can't think of it any other way to say it. But some people are just designed to be employees.
What 100%?
You know what I mean?
It takes a special kind of person to be able to be on your own and kind of be self-sufficient in a way that and have the discipline to do so too. It's just there's some people that would rather work for somebody else and be okay with that.
Trust me.
Not me, but somebody.
I think self-employed people, like all of us in this room, we go through phases where it's like, I just want a job.
Right? I want a steady paycheck sometimes. I'm just like, how nice would it be to walk away every Friday with some money?
I haven't like legit worked for anybody, and probably this is I don't know. I think it's funny, but it might not be. But I haven't legit worked for somebody since probably 2008 is the last time I had like a W-2 from somebody that I actually worked for. And I think like 2 years ago, I was like legit thinking like, I want to go fill out an application somewhere.
Right.
Not I'm not going to work there. I just want to see if they call me back.
No, I'm curious. I kind of want to do that
like,
too.
I want to go somewhere where I'd be super overqualified to work at and just be like, I just want to see if you guys would hire me.
I just want to see if you guys would hire me. I don't even know what I would, like, I thought about that because there's plenty of days that, like.
Do you ever think, like, do you think that you can get a job? Like, if you put an application at this place, like, you'd be like, oh, yeah, I've shoe in. Like,
fuck no.
I'd be sitting at Arby's and I'd be like, would they hire me?
No, I'm this, like, this week I dealt with this, like, or last week or something, but I was like, I don't know. I get to the point where I'm just like, fuck it, I'm quitting painting. Like, I don't want to do this anymore. And I'll sit there and I'm like, well, what else would I do? Like, where else would I even apply to work? Like, I don't even know what I would do with my life. So then I'm just like, well, I got to make this work.
It's one of those, like, things that doesn't, like, cross over. The only way that paint crosses over in anything else is, like, the more business mind that you have to do it. Yeah. Right? And so that could be applied towards, okay, if you're going to, like, more manager type shit. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, I think that's why a lot of painters don't quite work in the actual corporate world of paint.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
You know, it's like you find these people that are like, oh, I went to college for marketing. Like, what do you do now? Oh, I used to market furniture, but now I'm marketing paint. And it's like, those, like.
Right. I've also realized that I think I don't know if it's necessarily, I don't want to say like a painter thing, maybe it's an artist thing, but a lot of like the most amazing painters I know are all for themselves. Like it's very rare that they're like working in a shop for somebody else.
Usually the ones that work in the shop have problems. Yeah. And I'm not trying to talk shit or anything. I just think like a lot of painters, like custom paint is like tattoo money. Mm-hmm. It can be. Yeah. Like I can take let's say I charge 10 grand to paint a bagger. I can take 10 grand and I can go fuck that off in Vegas real quick, right? I can. Yep. Or I can take that $5,000 deposit on that paint job and I can go do $5,000 worth of shit. But it takes a professional to go like, I have $5 grand, but I don't have $5 grand. Right. Right. And so I'm going to go ahead and that's just here. Yep. And now I got to order $2,500 worth of materials. And then the other $2,500 that's my money that I got to, get to work to finish this job to get that other $5 grand. Yeah. But not everybody thinks that way. They's like, oh, well, I talked to the other dude last week and he's sending me a 10 grand paint job too. So I got $5 grand coming next week. I'm going to blow this $5 grand. This $5 grand's gone.
Can't be doing that.
And that's a bad cycle that happens with painters. And then that's just them thinking like add drugs or paint or not paint, but fucking alcohol. Anything,
Well, you actually gave me pretty good advice when I first started was these first couple. Yeah.
I know I did that.
Like the first couple jobs you were like, take that money and just put it in material and equipment that you need. Yeah. Don't even spend it on anything else. And so it's like, like I had an idea of how much everything was going to cost, but once I actually started doing it, then I was like, oh yeah, this is a little bit more than I expected.
Yeah, materials are like when people say like, man, paint costs a lot of money, like there's no biker build-off show that followed the paint job the whole process. Right. There's no.
Which I think that also like fucks us over in a way though, because people see these paint jobs on TV and they do these paint jobs in an episode and they're like, oh, it takes nothing, and I'm like, no, but that was like 3 months of shit that they filmed that they consolidated in 30 minutes that you're gonna have to take into account.
It's like doing a paint job is like building a house. There's processes, there's negotiations, there's execution, there's things that have to come together. And there's a lot of waiting in between it. Like when you pour concrete, you don't get to jump back on the concrete in 15 minutes and start drilling for fucking studs. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Oh, man. So it's like, okay, I just clear coated your bike. I don't have a $70,000 bake paint booth. Mm-hmm. So now it needs to sit for a week. That's to cure.
Some people are like, well, I don't understand. Like, you were working on my project, but now you're working on something else. I'm like, because if your project was the only project in this shop right now, you would literally be paying me to watch your paint dry, and I'm not doing that. Yeah. Like, while that dries, I'm gonna go work on something else so I can keep some shit going over here.
I'm glad I don't deal with that much, and I guess enough of my customers listen to the podcast now, so they're like, right. I'm not doing that to Jace, but like, right. I'm like, dude, I am a professional. Yeah. I'm not saying I'm the best. I'm just saying I'm a professional. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't want your shit in my shop any more than you want it.
Right,
So if you think you owe me money still, right? We talked about that. We don't like taking full payments on anything. So you owe me money, bruh. I want this shit money. Done as soon as I can, but I'm not putting out crap.
Exactly.
And I'm not putting out things I can't stand behind. So, like, if you, like, that's the thing that always drives me crazy. It happens with bike builders and it happens with painters a lot. Is when people are insecure with their own work, they'll tell you anything they want. Like, hey, can you build this bike for Sturgis? Yeah, we'll get it done. They need the job. It's 3 weeks. Like, bro, you can't even buy parts. Yeah. You know?
Yep.
When someone tells you no or I can't do that, that's a professional telling you the truth.
Yep.
They're not just trying to get your money. You know, yeah, there might be an opportunity, like say I have a spot where I didn't know I was going to have this free time to knock out this job or this helmet. Like that happens, but at the same time, it's like I don't know, I feel like there's just like there's a lot of people that'll say whatever to get the job and then deal with like the repercussions of their promises that were unfulfilled.
And I feel like when it comes to promises in the custom paint world, like you can't promise anything because there's so many variables that go into your paint process. Like look at February, that just Texas froze over. You couldn't do shit. So like regardless, if you come to me in January, of course at that point in time, I would love to get your shit done by the end of February. But when February fucking freezes over, I can't do jack shit.
Yeah, you said that your shop was 2 weeks without power.
Yeah, without power alone. And we don't have, like at the time, we didn't have, well, they still don't have heat. I'm just not at that shop anymore. But yeah, they didn't have heat. The booth wasn't properly set up. We had no filters. Like there was a whole day that like I just took just trying to figure out that part of things because I'm like, what the hell? So there's a lot of stuff that go into it that people don't realize. And like, even with like humidity levels and temperatures and just shit like that, you cannot control. Like there's just, I mean, you can if you buy your $70,000 paint booth that can do all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, but when you know, like a custom paint shop doesn't, a custom paint shop can easily probably do $100,000 a year, but that's a year. That's the entire salary.
Yep.
And then you take, shop materials. Like if you run $100,000 in paint work, then you probably run about $10,000 to $20,000 in materials.
Yeah.
It's a rule of thumb. It's like 20%.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
So, yeah, if I made $100,000 this year and then $20,000 went to the paint, well, the other 20, there's another 20% in actual expenses of the business.
Yep, of just like overhead of you, like because you got to even break down to like your shop electricity, your shop, like all that stuff that you wouldn't even think to consider in your materials.
Yeah, and so next thing you know, you make $60,000 a year. So now you're back down to like a, average wage.
Yeah,
and things like that, and then there's just so many other things that come into play. So it's like it's a very expensive hobby or career path.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
It's definitely one that you have to continually invest back into rather than just make money.
What made you want to ride yourself?
Man, so I remember being on, my dad has had the same bike his entire life. And I remember like.
He's not a good Harley customer.
Right? I guess not. But
what does he ride though?
It's a 93 Softail and it's like this custom peach color. Like it's
kind of sick.
Yeah, right? So he saw it in the dealership. It comes factory. And he saw it at the dealership and it had a sold sign on it already. And the dealership was like, okay, so this is a cool story about this said dealership though. That's actually how I was named. So the Harley dealership in my hometown was owned by a family called they were the Texters, and their daughter Shayna Texter is a professional flat track racer now. And when she was born, they put on their like name board out front. They were like, congratulations to Shayna, like the owner's daughter Shayna. She was just born. And my mom was like, if I have ever have another daughter, I'm gonna name her Shayna. And so then they had me, and then my dad bought this bike from that same Harley dealership. And I remember I was too little to ride on the back. He would put me on the tank. And like I specifically, like, you have like certain memories from being a child. And I remember sitting on this tank and like, I was so little that my legs did not reach past like the bottom of the tank. And like, I don't know, that's one of my favorite memories as a kid. So then I've always like, when I just started riding, I was married and like he rode and I always rode on the back with him. And I was just like, fuck this, like give me my own bike. Like I want my own bike. So then I got a dirt bike and I was so scared. I was petrified of riding a bike, but like I cried the first time I was on the dirt bike. I was sitting there and he's like, Shayna, all you have to do is go. And I was like bawling. I was like, I don't think I could do this. And then I like figured it out. And Then a couple months later, it was Daytona, and every year we said that we were never going to go, and then like the day before we just decided to go. And so we were doing that this year. We're like, we're not going to Daytona. So then Ryan looked at me the Thursday before, and he said, if you get your bike permit tonight, let's go buy a bike and let's go to Daytona. And he was just kind of kidding, but I was like, all right, let's do it. And I was like, I'll do that. And so I went and got my bike permit and bought my first bike, and we took it down to Daytona, and then we just rode around. And then I fell in love with it so much. I don't know what it is about it. I don't know if it's like I get a sort of confidence from riding that I don't get from anything else. And it's just like, I don't know. It's just like I'm operating this thing like that you have to like, it only responds to what you tell it to do. That's so like, like that's the cool part about it. And like, you have to become one with this bike because like you are operating it. And like, it's just, I don't know. Ever since then, I was like, there's no other feeling like this. It was the first thing that gave me a feeling of like fulfillment and being alive, like aside from painting. Because like I had painting, but then when your passion and your hobby become your career, you still need an escape from that, you know? So then, yeah, I started riding, and I made that a priority of mine. And then I just started collecting bikes, and now we're here. So, and they're all in my living room. So,
fuck yeah, no, that's cool. That's a good point. Like, every extension, every limb you have has a job on a motorcycle.
Yep.
Yeah, you're completely really connected to it.
Yep. So I mean, like I rode horses growing up, and it was always cool to me that like you're on this animal that you're like connected with type of thing. So I kind of got that same feeling from riding a bike, and it was just like, it's something that it seemed so far-fetched to me when I was riding on the back of a bike that like now it's just, cause like there's certain views and certain roads that we would take that like I dreamed of doing it on my own bike. And then like, I went and did it on my own bike, and you don't realize it at first. Like I had to like take a step back and be like, Shayna, this is what you always wanted, to like look at this view right here on your own bike. And like, there is no feeling that beats that. Like absolutely not.
I mean, I do that now with just like, I mean, it's always, we joke about it, but it's like, it's funny when we didn't, you know, my generation, we didn't grow up with Instagram to see all these badass places geotagged.
Yeah.
Right? We had National Geographic and Nickelodeon
Discovery
magazine,
Channel.
you know, like PBS, like, or you saw a TV show like Forrest Gump, and you saw like, what the fuck is Monument Valley? That's cool shit. Is that Mars?
It's not Mars.
And so like when you grow, like when you find, like when Instagram finally came around, you see all these rad ass places, and like, fuck, that exists.
Yeah, right.
And you're like, I want to go ride there.
Right, like there's places in, like I haven't been to Michigan yet, but there's places in Michigan that I'm like, that's in Michigan of all places. Like I never wanted to go to Michigan a sleeper, before
and
that.
I've only teased Michigan. Yeah. I've barely been in it, and I got a good friend, Steve Chamberlain, from up there, and he's always talking about it and like riding the UP.
He's up there right now, isn't he, or on his way back or something? Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I never had the appreciation for Michigan before like Instagram.
Michigan's just not on the way to anything.
That's true.
You gotta go completely out of your way. Michigan is a destination, so it's like for us in Texas, like if we were in like where you're at in PA, say you're gonna go to Sturgis, like hey, let's go through Michigan, hit the UP, and keep going west.
Yeah, that's true. That's the difference about Pennsylvania and Texas though too. Is like Pennsylvania, within 3 hours, you're in 6 other states. Yeah, Texas, within 3 hours, you're in the next town. And it's just like, what the hell?
I feel like when it comes to like that geography, right? Like, where's a good place to be that you can kind of jump everywhere? I feel like Cincinnati is that good balance between like 4 hours, you're damn near in New York, or maybe a little bit more, maybe 6 hours, you're in New York City.
Yeah.
But you're in PA, you know, from Cincinnati to, what is it, Pittsburgh, to Cleveland, to Chicago, to Detroit, Nashville, St. Louis, Indianapolis, you know, D.C. Like, you're 4 hours away from fucking everything.
Yeah.
You know, 4 hours.
I never thought about that.
If we leave Dallas right now, 4 hours is San Antonio almost. A little bit further.
Yeah, literally.
Halfway to El Paso.
Oh. Yeah. Halfway.
Not even. El Paso is 9 hours from me in Temple.
Yeah, we live off 20, so we can just jump right on it. You gotta either go down and around.
I take part of 20, and then I gotta get off 20 and take a back ass way and a bunch of shit. But that's a good job.
Yeah, Michigan is like one of those places. Like when I went to Milwaukee last year for the first time in my life, and just being around Milwaukee itself, it's such a fucking blue collar town.
I've never been to Milwaukee.
That I'm like, yo, like this feels like my vibe. Like it doesn't feel like Dallas. When you're in downtown Dallas, like Dallas is, it's not a tech thing, but it's kind of pretentious. It's very high end. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
So it's like you don't feel like you're around a lot of fucking people that work with their hands.
Yeah.
And Milwaukee, Detroit, Chicago.
I can see that. I've never been there.
It just feels a little grittier and like a bunch of motherfuckers. Like there's bars everywhere.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, and they're not like bars like here in Texas. They take the bars out of the neighborhoods and they put them on the outskirts of town. And then you feel like you're demonized to be the guy that wants to go to the bar.
Yeah.
Well, in those working class towns up there, they put the bar at the edge of the street or at the edge of the neighborhood, and people walk to the bar and they're like, "Hey man, I just got off third shift and the bar's still open, ready to get you a beer." You know what I mean? So like, I think that shit's rad as fuck.
No, that is cool. That definitely is cool. I'm all for that.
If it just wasn't fucking goddamn north of the goddamn wall up there.
Oh my god, and it's probably so cold too, like all the time. I'm all about warmth these days, you know. Obviously being me, but
I'm gonna go to Mama's Try this year, which is not in February like it usually is. It's in December, so I feel like that'll be a good chance to like get my toes wet of like the beginning of winter in the north.
Because like, and that's where like people think because it starts getting cold in like October, but your winter doesn't hit until like February, and that's when you get like like in Pennsylvania, your last snowstorm isn't till like the end of April, and like it's totally like just it messes you up because like it's Easter and I'm hunting for Easter eggs with my family in the fucking snow, and I'm just like, this is bullshit. I'm over it. And like
this year, our camp out was the first year that the whole country north of like 70.
Yeah.
Was covered in snow, and there was a lot of people coming.
Yeah, because Joe was saying on the way home he had a huge snowstorm that he got stuck in and shit that was like pretty gnarly, and that was the end of April.
That was the very last weekend of April.
Because I wanted to go, but the art circus was the same weekend.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Good times.
But yeah, it's tough, and everybody's like, well, hey, you got to move it, you know, in the summertime. I was like, bro, like, have you been to the South? Like, do you want to go camp? You want to go camp in 100-degree weather?
I do. That's me. That's just me, though.
It's like the showers don't run enough to clean up the Fremunda.
The Fremunda.
That little pre-camp out that we did.
Yeah.
When I getting drunk and I passed out in my tent for a little bit, I didn't have any of my windows open on the tent. I didn't have any of the windows open on my tent.
Yeah.
It was all shut. It was like an oven in there. That was terrible.
That was the camp out that you like spun out in the mud, right?
Yeah. I didn't spin out. I just flopped over.
Yeah. I'm after you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that first camp out was that was the one that was so humid that as soon as we showed up, we all took our shirts off. And that's how the whole shirt thing, the taking your shirt off at the parties happened. Just so everybody knows, we started that shit.
Yeah, it was so humid. Like, you had to do the podcast with Adam, and so...
That was a hard podcast to do, because I wanted to go outside and party with you guys.
Yeah, because I think it was just me and James and Daniel at the time. But as soon as you went to go do that podcast, it started pouring rain. And so we were out there. But then after I guess right before you finished, it stopped raining. And when you came out, it was just so humid for the rest of the day, through the night even. Yeah,
we partied like a motherfucker that time.
Yeah.
Which is... I don't know, that to me, that's what's dope about that whole camp out is like, it started off was like, what, 9-10 of us there the first time. And then now we're having 500 plus people show up to the thing. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's pretty cool. But yeah, I got Oliver Peck on Sunday night. That's going to be fun on the podcast.
Yeah.
That's going to be cool.
Yeah, I'm nervous.
I was nervous for this one until I had 3 beers.
That's why I get them liquored up, man.
I know. I thought it like on the way up here. I was like nervous. I was like, I'm gonna get there and shotgun be the first thing I do. But I turned it.
She comes in and just fucking smashes on her head. I'm like, it ain't that kind of party, bro.
Calm down there. Calm down.
You need to have Jaden here.
She just came in here and asserted her dominance, bro.
I should have. I fucking should have. But you know.
But you don't have the tray of beer here.
Anyway, I'm a little bit disappointed about that, but it's cool. It's fine.
I didn't know if you're gonna.
It's fine. I'm not special enough. I get it. It's cool. Don't worry.
When I have 4 dudes here that are they're gonna fucking pound beers. Like,
I get it.
I have to build a mountain of shit.
I have to build a mountain of Montuckies.
Yeah. So what, were you nervous coming to this?
Oh my God, yeah.
But you'd already done a podcast.
I did podcasts. I've never done live podcasts though. Okay. So I feel like that's where my nerves came in. But then once I realized, I'm like, I do lives myself sometimes too. I'm like, it's the same fucking thing.
I don't like going live myself.
I don't either. I don't know. I used to do it a lot more than what I do now. I used to just like go live and just pinstripe and shit.
Didn't it feel like the thing to do when the pandemic started? Like everybody had to go live? Like that was
you had nothing else better to do. There was
hey guys, going live tonight. I need friends. I need attention.
Friends.
I need human interaction.
That's true. But then like at the same time, I don't know. When you just go live on Instagram, it's just kind of hard because like I can't do work that they want to see and reply to what they're saying. Yeah. Like I can only do one or the other, and like I just stopped doing it after a while.
There's not like a whole lot of incentive to do. What's big going around. I don't know if you. I'm in connected to everything going on. Influencer world.
You're just an influencer now.
Dude, I want to be. I want to be. So obviously Instagram is trying to push their content to more video content, right? They made a big deal. They want more people doing reels. They want more people doing Instagram live. They want people doing more IGTV, right? Well, YouTube's the only one that's ever monetized and paid people for that content, right? Yeah. So Instagram makes billions of dollars every year off of content, your pictures, my videos, my this, everything that we do, they make money on. But they're trying to find a way to incentivize people to do it on this platform rather than TikTok or YouTube and all these things, right? And so that's how the Reels came about. But it's like the amount of you can't do what we're doing right now on Instagram. Otherwise, I fucking would. I got followers and I don't have shit on YouTube.
Yeah, right.
Half the dudes watching probably don't even they're not even subscribed, motherfuckers. But it's one of those deals where it's like, I want to do more on Instagram, but at the same time, it's hard to, I set up my camera and I start pinstriping, and then everybody's like, hey, what brush is that? Hey, what paint is that? Hey, what T-bars is on that bike in the back over there? And you're like, dude.
Totally unrelated. You're like, yeah. And they're like, what'd you do on Tuesday? And I'm like, it's fucking Friday. I don't know.
That or is a couple times you were doing it and no one's talking. You're like, hey, what's going on, everyone? Like, let's talk about something.
Or the whole famous, like when you first get on there, like, I'm just gonna wait for some people to hop on here. Famous, like,
hey guys, just chilling right here for a minute. We're gonna wait for more people, and like 5 minutes later, still waiting. Mom, you don't have to be on this.
Oh my God, my mom! I had to send her the link to this one. She's probably watching right now. I'm like, I called her. I said, Mom, I'm gonna be on this podcast tomorrow. She's like, well, send me the link. So okay.
When we were doing them on Facebook, my mom would watch them all the time. Like, Mom, there's another platform for social media. She's like, Facebook's where I like to talk shit about Trump.
That's perfect.
No, I think she didn't. I think it's the other way around. But yeah, we used to. So when I first started doing this live stuff, it was hard to kind of get YouTube. The YouTube thing, everything figured out was kind of complicated. Yeah. So we were doing them on Facebook all the time, and then like you would do them on Facebook, and it was like the crowd on Facebook is just not ideal.
No, not at all.
It's a bunch of people are like, when people are on Facebook, they go to groups or that group. What do they call them?
Like forums or
they're
something.
almost
like forums, like group forums. So they're so used to like blurting out their opinions about everything. That's like, bro, like I'm doing a live podcast. I don't give a fuck about your thoughts on this fucking brand's.
Right.
Like, not the place, bro. Just listen.
Not the place, bro. Not the place.
Imagine this is Friends, and you're trying to see what Chandler's about to do. Just shut the fuck up.
Just listen. Just watch. It's fine. Oh, I get it.
All right, it's my turn to pee.
Okay. Have a good time.
Yeah, anyway, I told you.
I almost tripped going back up those stairs. They were pretty gnarly.
It was pretty sketchy when we were building it.
I can imagine. Yeah. I can imagine. Even so, I was over here and Jason's like, yeah, we built this all ourselves. He's like, it's doing pretty good so far. I said, oh, you mean so nobody fell through the floor yet? You're good. Right? Yeah. And he's like, yeah.
No, before the walls went up, there was just, I think we had framing on this side, but we were trying to put up the framing over the staircase.
Oh, yeah.
And, there's no railing or anything right here. So it was like, Oh yeah, have a ladder there, like two people holding the ladder. One person, I think it was Sax, since he was the smallest person, just climbing up there.
That happens all the time. I can't even tell you how. Like, I didn't think, like, growing up, I don't know, I just never thought I was a tiny person. And then I got in, like, the collision side of things. And like, hey, Shayna, reach your arm in this fucking thing because nobody else can fit their shit in there. And like, I'm like, okay, cool. Thanks, guys.
No, yeah, that's pretty true, because, like, most of the guys I worked with were bigger guys, or, I mean, they're just average size, but, like, you are small compared to them. And then my buddy, his name is Matt, too. But he was like real tiny, and he could like get into little weird angles and like, oh, there's some kind of leak in the trunk, let's get inside, and he's like crawls right in. And like me, I'm big, and like I'm like having trouble breathing.
Right. So. I remember reaching my arm down this like one door panel because they dropped some screws down there and shit, and I was like, it's cool, guys, I'll cut my arm off, it's not a big deal.
The stairs.
I literally, as you left, I said the same thing. I said, yeah, those stairs are gnarly. I almost ate shit coming up here, so I was like rushing to get back.
It was just big. You exert a lot more energy.
I was just talking about being out of breath, getting
anyway. Oh man.
So like, you know, you got hooked up with like Rob and all the art circus things and shit like that. Like, how has it been? Because it seems like you didn't have a lot of time of, I guess, from my perspective, because I'm on the outside looking in. So when someone's watching through social media, they don't realize the months in between the things that spark their interest or whatever. But it seems like you went pretty quickly from being someone that was an attendee to someone that's kind of helping run it.
So I definitely, Rob and I love that man to death. He's like my dad. We have a very, it's so funny how we met, actually. So the first time I moved to Texas, I was here for maybe about, I don't know, it was like 2 weeks. And I put my business card at like the local paint shops and like local body shops I reached out to and stuff, and doing the whole like typical marketing thing. So I got a call from a random number one day, and it was from Austin, Texas. So I was like, okay, this could be work. I usually never answer my phone. As a business owner, I know I'm horrible about that, but I'm like, if you want work done, you can leave me a fucking
I'd like to talk to you about your car's extended warranty.
Right? I'm like, I'm not going to answer it. You know what I mean? But for some odd reason, I answered it, and I was like, hello? And he said, I know every artist in Austin. Why don't I know who you are yet? And I was like, well, because I just moved here.
That's
like,
some mafia shit right there.
And I'm like a little bit concerned at this point. I'm like, who the fuck are you? Like, and so I was like, wow, I just moved here. Who are you? And he's like, well, I'm Rob Churchill. And I was like, okay. And he was like, yeah. He's like, and we just got to talking, and he's like into dirt track racing too. And so we talked for like an hour and a half on the phone. He was like, yeah, come down to my house one day. And it was funny because at the end of the conversation, he was like, yeah, when you come down to my house, he said, are you afraid of dogs? I said, no. I said, I love dogs. And he's like, okay. He's like, well, I have 2 wolves. And I was like, no, you don't have wolves. Like, come on. And then I went to his house, and the motherfucker legit has wolves. And I was like, okay, cool. So then he told me about the Airbrush Art Circus. And this was when I was still doing like a lot of like just collision stuff, and like I did some custom stuff, but it was all tape work and stuff, and it was nothing cool like how we talked about like the design and stuff. I didn't know the direction I wanted to go in then. So he's like, you need to come to the Airbrush Art Circus and take Kiwi Terry's Skulls class. So I was like, all right, cool. So I went to the San Antonio Circus in 2019, and I took Kiwi's class, and it completely transformed me as an artist. Like, that class alone gave me years of what it would have took me to self-teach. And it was cool because it wasn't just, I didn't just learn skulls. Like the technique I learned to paint those skulls, I used in absolutely everything that I did then. And to this day, Rob has given me some of the best advice to paint as far as an airbrush artist. And it's some of this, like, when he first told it to me, I said, you are a crackhead. But he literally, he set a skull in front of me one day. And he was like, all right, Shayna, he said, I'm going to tell you exactly what to do to paint this. And I said, okay. And he sets this skull down, and he goes, look at it. And I said, okay. And he goes, paint it. And he walked away. And I was like, what the fuck? I was like, all right, cool. But literally, that's what you do. You just look at it for every line that it is. Like, you break it down. And so then I went to my first Airbrush Art Circus, and I vowed that I would never miss another. And then, because I felt like it was that important to me. So then I went to the next one in Phoenix, and that one, so the first Airbrush Art Circus, I'm very shy, like, when I first meet some people, like, I don't talk at all. So I went to my class and I went to my hotel room. That's it. I did my thing. The second Airbrush Art Circus, I started breaking out of my shell and I partied the whole fucking time. And I barely learned anything that time, but I made, like, Darren and I became good friends, and that's when I made some seriously cool friends. So then the third Airbrush Art Circus came along. That one was canceled because of COVID. And then I ended up moving to Texas. And Rob called me about 2 weeks before the last Phoenix circus. And he was like, hey, I need somebody to haul this trailer out. Like, you have a truck, can you do it? And I was like, fuck yeah. So then I started hauling the trailers out. And then I just picked up the social media page after that. And then now we're just here. Now I pretty much do everything for it. So is what it is. But I'm happy to help.
There's a lot to be gained, you know. Those classes, I mean, I've done quite a few myself. But like we were talking about earlier, I think nowadays the industry is so much different that just being good at one thing is kind of, it's hard to be successful anymore.
It limits you a lot.
Like we were talking.
Yeah, it's like what we were talking about, that we use airbrushing and pinstriping to add to our jobs rather than using that to become an airbrush artist or specifically a pinstriper. Like that's the key part to it, is just using it to be part of one big thing instead of just being an airbrush
there's
artist.
A lot of careers in custom paint that are
don't realize that at first.
Yeah, so I mean, hell, a vinyl cutter, learning how to use a computer to draw things, to cut it out, to use as paint masks on a paint job.
That's JR is a madman with that. He can and he's who taught me, like, the thing that looks like it's on top of the paint job is actually like what you paint first, and like that kind of like all of that shit. Like, he's a vinyl cutting like master, and like he can 3D design the whole helmet for you on the computer, and I'm just like, what the fuck? Like, I can barely do that in person.
That stuff shows. I mean, because when you can make things symmetrical by a computer, is way different when you can do it by hand. Not that he can. I know he can.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you're trying to be proficient at this, you're definitely gonna use a computer.
It makes it that much more accurate that it just can't be.
Well, you know, when I was growing up doing airbrush, I got so used, like, when you would do a Marilyn Monroe, right? There's 4 photos of the bitch, right? You're using. Can I say that?
Yeah. Right. She laughs, so it's okay.
I was gonna say, I think you can. Yeah, you're good. You're not gonna offend me.
There's like 4 different photos that people use. So like, I just drew all of them on the computer.
Yeah.
Like, so Mike Learn used to like make stencils. He had this thing called belly guns.
Okay.
Which was like, he would draw the stencils on like what was it? What's the Adobe? No, not Adobe. Not Illustrator, but the other one that people would use, CorelDRAW.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you use CorelDRAW, and he draw the images up, skulls, roses, chains, like all these different elements of like the type of paint jobs that were popular at the time. And you could literally either buy the stencils already pre-cut, or you can buy the downloads.
Yeah, like the vector images or whatever.
Yeah, and then just like, okay, well, I need this chick this is going on a hood, so I need her to be 2 feet tall.
Yeah.
Or this is going on a gas tank, I need her to be, 6 inches tall. So you were able to do it that way, but obviously, like, when the thing turned into more realism, everybody was going that direction, thanks to Corey St. Clair and Ryan Townsend and all these other bad motherfuckers. Like, you couldn't do that anymore because it looked too
stenciled. Yeah, like you could tell that it was like chopped and cut and everything. And like there's still artists that you could tell to this day, but that's just the style that they go off.
I think the problem is that everybody has to go through those motions of trying those ways that we all had to do to get to the end result. Yeah. And then start figuring out, okay, well, I accomplished it, but now I need to figure out how to make it mine.
Exactly. But I feel like a lot of people, I know that I struggled, like, and Rob told me that from the start. He said, you have to study all these other artists first, and then you'll figure out your own style. But I struggled with that because I also didn't want to copy these artists, but at the same time, you almost have to be able to, like.
Well, so there's a lot of artists out there, and I have no problem calling them out. Not individually, but I hear this. Like, when I would talk to older painters, literally the funniest thing was, like, I talked to painters who do classes, right? Like, hey, come check out my class, learn how to do so-and-so. And I'm like, okay, cool. People are going to come to your class to learn how to lay out graphics.
Yeah.
You can't be mad if they go home and lay out your graphics on cars because you taught them how to do it.
Yep.
But you have to be confident enough in yourself as a teacher and as a established artist that people are they're gonna copy your stuff, whether you taught them how to copy it or they just genuinely like it and they're gonna copy it. You just got to deal with it.
Well, that's the thing with sharing and social media and the internet these days is like there's pros and cons to it. Yeah, there's a huge amount of people that you can apply to and have see your work, but in return, there's going to be that much more that are copying it now too because you're putting it out there.
They're copying what you already did.
Yeah,
they're not. It'd be different. It's like I was gonna do that and he copied me and then he figured it out first. I'm like, get the fuck out of here.
Look at the Sturgis bike that you did. The last one.
Oh.
Whatever shop it was, painted it almost exactly like yours.
I know I know exactly which one you're talking about because I judged it in the paint show. I'm pretty sure.
Which one was it?
The one that you have right here, the picture of, on the outside of the wall.
The
Yeah.
Which one? My bagger or the Softail?
The Softail.
Oh yeah. So that Softail was painted like mine, line for line.
Yeah.
Right. But the owner did not know.
Okay.
So the painter.
Didn't you say the painter was a fan of yours?
He's I want to say that.
I mean, yeah, in a way, you have a right saying
dude,
that
he's
if he's gonna copy your work.
He has a shrine of me, and he pokes a fucking bear. But no, this is what blew my mind because his shit was really good, like from Instagram photos. Like, it was very, very close to mine to the point where I was like, you have the ability to do your own style if you copied my style so well. Why, like, to me, what that shows me as a painter is that someone that's not taking their craft seriously.
Yeah.
But he's talented.
Yeah.
For sure. So it's like, if you can do mine line for line, then you should be able to sit here and do your own thing.
And I think what bothers me more so about the line for line thing like that is like, so
line for line, color for color.
Like so he had to be staring at your job first, like during the whole thing, because like when I look for inspiration for projects, like I'll go through, I'll save some pictures that I like and I'll look at them, but when I start that job, I do not look at anything. Like I refuse to, like, it's going based off of only what like I have in my memory. Like when I have to copy something, like if I were to do that like line for line, I have to stare at that bike the entire time I'm taping this bike out. So like almost like print it out as a fucking reference picture and post it on a fucking wall while I'm taping this out. So like if this person would have just looked at your work and then went and taped up his own shit, like it would have had the same vibe maybe, but it still would have been his. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
That's just, I don't know. That's just what I like.
But at the same time, like I tried to explain because the owner of the bike called me and said, "I'm sorry." He was apologizing. I was like, "Look, man,
that's not your fault.
I don't care."
Yeah.
Like,
well,
I'm flattered.
I did that to you one time. I was like, I'm so like, because I put a portrait on the back of a helmet, like where you usually do, and you liked it on Instagram. And I messaged you and I said, I'm not trying to copy you.
I liked it as like a sideways, like, right? I see what you did there.
Right? That's why I was like, is that true? And so I was like, no, I'm so sorry. You're like, dude, I don't give it. You literally messaged back and you were like, I don't give a fuck. Like, you're like,
that shit's dope. Like, it's awesome to like, in some aspects, like be in a place where people find your artwork inspiring enough to do something similar to it. But when it comes to the helmets, like there's no other better place on the helmet to put an image
it's
than
tough.
Where I do it, because it's the most flat part of the helmet.
But there's a reason why you do it there, because of that.
Exactly.
So
and so that. Like, yeah, when all this was going down, like everybody, and this is what I talk about when customers, like if you're a shop, whether you build bikes or paint bikes or whatever, don't let customers get in your head gassing you up, because what happens is they gas you up and they actually start pinning you against each other. And we're stronger as a unit, right?
Yeah.
The thing is that like I don't care. Like I painted that Softail 2 years ago, and if someone else found it so awesome that they wanted to copy it, I take that as a compliment, and I'm more flattered.
Yeah.
In no way, shape, form, or fashion am I worried about not being able to eat next month because this dude painted a bike like that.
But see, the thing is, like, even though he did paint a bike like that, look at all these people who are like, hey, he painted a bike like FASTLIFE. So, like, because you already did that first, like, that, you had that. Like, you know, it wasn't like...
But at the end of the game, like, if you win the argument or you win the situation, like, I was first, say it, motherfucker.
Right.
You know, like...
Say it, motherfucker.
There's no prize. There's you gain nothing.
Yeah.
And honestly... You know, like I would be a straight liar if I said that I've never copied someone's work line for line.
Yeah.
I've never done a paint job copy line for line, but like we were talking about certain airbrush artists, like Rod Fuchs used to do these fucking panels, And I literally tried to do some line for line because I was so inspired by his work.
Oh yeah.
But
well,
I never
and Rod
did it on
knows
a bike.
that though, and he has those books out that he sells his own designs and stuff. And that's one thing that I admire about Rod Fuchs so much, is because his creativity, which is what we were talking about earlier too, is just astounding with what he can, like, just how he can take nothing, like there's literally nothing, and then he can just draw this crazy image of this skull and this like pirate ship net and shit. Like it's wild to me, the stuff that he can do. So
exactly. And that's one of those deals where you get to that place where it's like there's no scam likely. There's no reason for me, like it just doesn't serve me any kind of way to try to discourage another artist for trying to get to a certain point, because if I would have got caught, we didn't have social media the way we have now, doing what I did back in the day, like I'd probably be much more discouraged to ever pursue this career.
Oh yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. And so like I started my career on social media, and there was a period of time that I started pinstriping, and then some people just had some shit to say that I didn't pinstripe for 6 months, for like just a long time. I was like, I did this, and I thought I was just really excited about it, and somebody just, I don't want to say put me in my place, because I feel like I still was like rightfully so excited about it, but this person just like definitely put me in my place about it, and I didn't pick up a brush for like 6 months because of it. And then when I did, and I was like that much more improved just randomly, I was like, I will never let the opinion of somebody else stop me from doing what I'm doing ever again.
So we talked about a certain individual in Dallas.
Yes, we did.
The amount of scrutiny that I took in my career to be a painter, like, well, back then we had message boards, remember? So like people went to a website to talk on a message board, and every scene, everything, if you were into RC boats or planes or motorcycles or stunt bikes or whatever, there was a group, like we used to have this thing called DFW, it's like Dallas Fort Worth Sport Bikes, and then we had another one called DSR, which was Dallas Stunt Riders Forums.
Okay.
And this was before like Facebook had forums, right? So people would go on there, and I used that shit in the 2000s to like, hey man, I do paint work, and then shit like that. It was early forms of social media, right?
Yeah.
And this individual we're talking about used to, like, he never did it himself. He had all his close guys that worked at his shop would go on there and talk shit about me. So I would, like, adolescent wise, I'd be up there like, no, fuck you guys.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
right?
Like, I'm good. Like,
Yeah.
and I mean, yes, I wasn't nowhere near what I am now. Like, it's weird because you need to understand your skill level, which is very hard to do when you see yourself progress.
Yeah.
Like, you're better than you were when you started, but you're not quite as good as the person that's been doing it for this long, right? But my generation was like, let's beat that person down and make him fucking want to slit his wrist.
Yeah, right.
As opposed to now, I think that sometimes, like, people might be mean on the internet, but most professionals will talk very kindly but motivationally to someone that is trying to get their shit together.
Every like big name that I'm now friends with has been nothing but encouraging, and like even like people that I have been like just intimidated by have just been like, yeah, like we all, like Ryan Evans, for example. There was one day that I called him, like I was almost in tears because I was just like, it was the matrix clear. I just could not get down. Like I was like, I literally just like, I was like, I'm not a painter because I can't paint this specific brand. And he pretty much, he's like, Shane, he's like, whatever you got to do to get it done. He said, there's some painters that would see what I do in a booth and cringe at the shit that I do. And I'm like, every painter has said that at some point. So I'm glad that we're all on the same page. Like,
Ryan's one of those, so I have a Ryan story. It's fucking funny.
Oh, I love these.
So Ryan came here to teach a class at Matrix, right? So House of Color used to have a training facility here in Dallas. And then, of course, when House of Color got bought out by Sherman Williams, which owns Matrix and things like that, it became just a whoever the fuck wants it training place, right? So Matrix was having a class there, and it was being taught by Ryan and I forget his name, the other guy that works with him that paints.
Horny Mike.
No, not the Airbrush Mexican dude.
I know who you're talking about, but I can't. Lenny?
Lenny.
That's his
I think
name.
so.
Something like that.
I think it's Lenny.
We're gonna say
they're on the TV show, right? They're on
Yeah.
the Counts Customs, right?
Yeah.
And so Ryan's famous, So is Lenny. I want to say his name is Lenny.
I think it's Lenny.
Lonnie?
I don't have service in here, so I can't look it up. I don't know. I want to say it is.
Anyway,
but now I feel like we should get his name right if we're going to be talking about it.
We owe that to him.
Because he is good. He's not on the show a whole lot, but he's really good as an artist.
Yeah, so basically.
Yeah, Lonnie Spear. Look, JR,
yeah,
JR coming in. Thank you.
It's Lonnie.
Oh
Solid
my God,
dude. Tommy, yeah.
So a funny story about him. He sent me when that whole Texas freeze was going on, and he couldn't. I'm obsessed with Velveeta mac and cheese, and I could not find it anywhere, absolutely anywhere. And I was doing a tank for him at the time, and so I was expecting a tank to come through, and a box came in, and it looked kind of small, and I was like, okay, it's from Tommy though. And I open it up, and it's nothing but mac and cheese, and I'm like, you are my fucking god right now. Like, I am so thankful for you. And like, so yeah, that's why I said mac and cheese for days. Anyway, back to Lonnie.
So we go to this class, and for me, this was like a huge thing for me because Matrix asked me to come. There was a lot of other people there, a lot of the painters in Texas. It was kind of like a training thing, but also like, hey, Ryan from Counts Custom is going to be here.
Yeah.
And at the time, he had liked a couple of my shits, my photos and shit online.
Yeah.
But I wasn't going there to be like, I'm Jace in Fast Life Garage.
For the first.
Yeah, for the first, right? I'm just more like, I'm going to go there because I'm more trying to create a relationship with Matrix. I'm trying to get deeper in with the brand and work with them on more things.
Yeah.
And, like, it was funny because, like, as we got there, you know, when Ryan started speaking at the beginning, like, because it was not just me. It was, like, Pistolero Designs out of Houston is a badass painter as well.
Yeah.
There was a lot of heavy hitters out of Texas there. And he goes, like, man, like, I feel like we all need to be up here teaching it. Like, it was, like, a legit, like, respect amongst us all. And we were talking. And we were all going to Saltgrass afterwards because that was, like, the closest, like, restaurant. But they were all staying at a hotel in Arlington. So we went out, and I'm sitting at the bar at this hotel with Ryan, and then the lady from Matrix is there, and she's, like, leaning on us with her, like, what do you think I should do, mate, like, for fucking marketing and things like this? And should we keep using John Kosmosky for the thing, or should we find a new person for House of Color? And, like, it was crazy because I know Ryan and I know he's on TV, but this bartender reaches across and goes, "You're the guy on TV, right?" And I'm like, that's a different type of fame.
Right?
Like,
I will okay, so I'm not on TV or anything, but I was up in Lodi with Joe one night, and when I went up there, Joe posted that I was coming up there, so I was like, okay, people know I'm coming, like, whatever. And we were sitting at this bar one night, and it was this brewing company, and me and him were just sitting there by ourselves, and this whole group of people is just kept looking over at me, and I have a really pettiness with being stared at. I don't know what it is, but I cannot stand people. I can stand anything, but if you stare at me, I get instantly pissed off. So I'm like, what the hell are these people looking at me for? Like, I thought they were looking at Joe. And so then this girl comes over, and she goes, I don't mean to be weird, but me and my boyfriend, and she, like, kind of paused, and I was like, this is about to get real fucking weird, like, real quick. And so then I was, like, kind of, like a little bit back by. She's like, but my boyfriend follows you on Instagram, and he loves your paintwork. And I was like, me? And she was like, yeah. And I was like, does he know Joe? And like, she was like, no, not at all. And I was literally, it was the highlight of my life that I could be out somewhere in the middle of nowhere. You could outdo
Joe.
Yeah, right? Literally. And that too. I was just like, and that's because I was like, okay, you know me because, like, Joe posted about me. I said, you know Joe, because her boyfriend came over then. He's like, can I get a picture with you? And I was like, yeah. I was like, you know Joe? And he's like, no. And I was like, oh, I'm sorry. And I was like, wait. And then I was beside myself because I was like, wait, somebody that's not, because it's different when you go to a bike event because, like, that's people that are in the industry. I'm like, this is a random bar in the middle of, like, somewhere that I've never been before, and this person, like, I'm still high off of it, so I'm just all about it.
Those things are weird, but they're also kind of, like, low-key, like, super...
Right? Right, no, 100%. I, like, get creeped out, but then I'm like, okay, I know what I'm doing.
That's a tingle in my back. You can't give me that.
It was one of the
Me and my wife were going to, we were going on our honeymoon, and I just got a gel, like, an hour before.
I just heard this story with Hang 'em High.
So I got a gel like an hour before, so we had to redo our flight, and we were at the airport because me and my wife have only flown together, I think, twice.
Yeah.
And
you guys ride a lot and just drive
everywhere.
Well,
we drive a lot of places, and then, like, or I'll ride there, she'll fly there. So I think we've only flown together twice and maybe even once. And this might be the one. And we're in the airport in the security thing. And this dude walks, goes, FASTLIFE Garage? And I'm like, yeah, man. And this is like 2016. Like we weren't as big as we were now and shit. And it's like, he's like, yeah, man, I follow your shit. It's dope. I'm like, that was kind of like probably the first time it started like to happen with like people coming up to you. And I just look at my wife. I'm like,
right. I looked over at Joe.
What's that
like, what's up?
Trump thing where he's like, I don't know.
Right. It's so funny. Oh my God, I feel that because like everywhere we go, everyone's always like talking to Joe, and he's like, Joe Kid, I follow you, and then I'm like, all right.
Joe's like he's like the OG influencer though.
Oh yeah.
Like
but without even trying though, like he doesn't.
I feel like he has more followers in real life than he does on Instagram.
Oh, 100%. That is 100%. I can vouch for that. Like that, there's no doubt. Everywhere. It's just like Joe Kid.
Yeah, there's just like this. It's strange because as more and more people start to gain more and more, I hate to use the word followers, but more attention on social media platforms, that people will come up to them like, hey man, like I fucking follow you on TikTok and blah, 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 and this and that.
As
and it's
much
like,
as people like, they chalk up the social media and they're like, followers isn't everything and all this other stuff. And I agree with that to a point, but coming from me, who's somebody who is solely Instagram based, the amount of followers I have, the more followers I have, the more chance of one of those people is going to get work done. So like, obviously I'm going to care about that because when I had 10,000 followers and a certain percentage only got work done versus now when I have 19,000 and that same percentage gets work done, it's going to be more. So it's an advertisement thing. It's a tool to use for marketing. So
yeah, the crazy thing is like when you're a painter though, and you have followers, so there's a percentage of the people that follow you because they're painters as well. Mm-hmm. And there's a percentage of like, oh, this person does paint work and that's cool. And maybe one day I'll need paint work.
Yep.
You know?
And that's, so when I was talking earlier about how like I studied Instagram marketing for a long time, and that was all what it was about applying to the correct audience. So like, as a painter, I can sit here and hashtag Iwata and all the products that I use, and I can hashtag things that would appeal to custom painters, but then they're only coming up on custom painters' feeds. Whereas if I hashtag things like Harley Davidson or Sportsters or the type of bikes, then it's going to come up on people who aren't painters. It's going to come up with people who have those bikes, and then maybe it's somebody that doesn't even want custom work done, but then they see that and they're like, okay, yeah, I want something like that, and then they get it done. So it's just all about applying to the correct audience too.
TikTok is actually really bad at that because you'll see people's tags on there and they're doing like everything that's related with current events, not even to what the topic is.
Yeah.
And it's like Cinderella Man and like they'll do weird posts, you know, Kardashian and stuff. And it's like, that's not even related. This is like some gothic little kid trying to post. And then you get these weird little tags on here.
Yep.
That's probably the hardest part about like now, you know, we started. So Sit Down Steve, I credit him for being kind of the guy that really started pushing reels in the motorcycle industry because he did a couple reels for Daytona this year and they were fucking fire, right?
Reels
and then since
are
then,
insane.
Everybody's doing reels, but like, I guess my perception of what I expected to see in a reel and what everybody else is doing now is different because, and not to say that what's happening now is bad, but Sit Down Steve, like, this is the first day of Daytona, and it was all these things throughout the day of Daytona. So I was like, fuck yeah, like, it's a story.
Yeah.
But you slowly panning across all the paint jobs that you got right now with fucking a song in the background, like, bro, like, that's a story, bro. Put that in a story.
Yep, you know? I understand that.
But since, like I said, Instagram is made everything where they want video content, everybody's just turning their content into videos, even though it's not necessarily good.
Yeah. That's the other, like the reels only are cool when they're actually cool. Like when they have, like, they're done correctly. Like you actually have cool content behind them. It's not just cool music with some random shit.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, and I'm not saying that the reels that I put out are better or anything. Like they definitely aren't, but I'm just saying, like, it just seems like it's like a entry level way of doing video work. It's like, that's a story, bro.
Yeah. Oh no, I totally understand that.
I don't know. It's tough. It doesn't matter. I mean, like whatever floats their boats. I don't.
Well, it's stuff that's like, I don't know, like when Instagram first started, like people would just post random fucking pictures of anything, and then people got into like the influencing part of it and would take really cool pictures and like all that stuff. I feel like the same thing's happening with Reels right now. We're just all kind of figuring out and posting it like random fucking shit, and then eventually somebody like Sit Down Steve is gonna post something real fucking cool, and then we gotta like kind of go with that then instead. But
yeah, I don't know. Like, I got on TikTok and created an account for it.
I tried it. It doesn't.
But I don't know that, like, everybody that's doing well on TikTok, I don't know that I want to put myself out there that way.
It's a lot to put into, because like I tried it. I made a TikTok account, and then the first video that I tried making took me way too long. I was like, this is so, I was like, am I at that point that I'm reaching the age that I just don't understand technology, or like, do I really not understand this? Because it was fucking tough for me. I was like, I feel like I'm still in this group that would like just automatically, because like, I don't know, I feel like there was a time in my life that I could get a new phone and just automatically know how to operate it, and like now, like I get a new phone and I'm just like, what the fuck is this? Like,
TikTok makes people think they're professional editors.
Yeah, 100%.
I feel like, I guess my humor is still very rudimentary, where like if someone just farted on a video, I'd laugh my ass off.
I mean, it's funny.
Like, holy shit. I didn't see that coming.
Right, no, the same way.
It's funny because like with TikTok, you get all these different subgenres in it, and you can get in a rabbit hole on that too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Just all the tags you're going through and everything. But it's funny because like the motorcycle scene is pretty good on there.
For real.
But like there's a couple people that I've seen on there. There's maybe one or two I might follow that I would be like, oh, if Jace was on here, he would probably be in the same level, like getting all this shit talk and everything. Like, because you can share videos, or I don't know what they call
like
it.
Like repost someone else's shit, but do your own voiceover on it.
Do it on that, but like you can also do that with the comments in yours, and you can call people out.
Oh yeah, like, you can like post the comment in your video and be like, "This is the comment I'm replying to," and people like fucking they go at it, man.
I just don't have that kind of time to.
It's a lot more work into it doing TikTok than like doing like a live or something.
Yeah, even a reel, like the amount it takes me to like make the same video on TikTok is insane. Like I'm just like, I can't, like I said, the first time I tried it, I was like, this is taking me way too fucking long. I can't do this.
Yeah, it's just complicated. But I mean, the sad part is like that's the next wave of this generation or generations to come of what you're gonna have to do to be relevant on social media. Like it ain't gonna be about a picture anymore. You know what I mean? Eventually it's gonna be like, well, this guy puts nice reels and videos showing his paint jobs. I'm going to go with that guy now.
Yeah.
You know, or whatever the case may be going forward. Because if Instagram wants to put more videos out, so they throttle more people putting video content out, and you're just still taking pictures, you're Fucksville.
You're Fucksville.
You know?
That's a good one.
So it's like, it's just complicated, but I like video, but as someone that takes pictures, I also love photography, and I think that some things in this world need to just be photography, and it needs 100%. To be that's one of the biggest conversations amongst photographers right now is there's no platform for them anymore.
Yeah.
Right? There's no place to post pictures of what you do that is highly wanted. Mm-hmm. Like Instagram was about pictures. And now it's about videos, which is what YouTube was. But because all these platforms are competing for your attention, which we all learned about through the social dilemma, now they're like, well, we get more attention if people post videos. They stay engaged longer on the platform. We're going to push more of that and not pictures.
And the thing that sucks about all these, like, the big names that are doing it is if they would have stuck with their own thing, like Instagram would have stuck with pictures and then TikTok videos or whatever, then like they each have their own thing that would have made them successful instead of them all trying to be the same fucking app over and over again. Like, I don't know. I feel like that's why Instagram's so successful, because it was only pictures for such a long time. Like there wasn't any other app that was like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's super strange, man. Like it really is. And next thing you know, like people are going to be like, you already see like the influencers in the wild, like that shit was created because of TikTok.
Oh yeah.
I mean, yeah, people might be doing this like selfies and shit back in the day or just period. Like I know it still happens now, but it wasn't till TikTok when it turned into set my phone up and go do a dance. And that's the funny shit.
Right? That's the shit that like.
And so like, you got to think like at some point, like you're doing all that for a like.
Right? Like that's what I don't understand is like I can get it to where you're making money off of it because then you're like putting in time for something. But like there's like teenagers and stuff that are literally doing this just for likes that don't even know that like you can make money off of this. And I'm just like, for what? For absolutely what? Yeah. If it were honestly, if it were not for the business that I get from Instagram, there has been plenty of times that I would have deleted all social media just because I fucking hate it. Like it's just, I just don't want to do it, but that's my business. So I kind of have to be there.
Instagram is like dating a hot stripper that kind of has that you kind of feel like it's faithful, but sometimes you don't, you know what I mean? It's like, God damn, everything's perfect, but when it's not, it's like, fuck, this is the worst. You know what I'm saying?
I've never heard that analogy. That's perfect.
It really just sucks because like every once in a while, man, there's so much positive that's come to my life through Instagram.
Yeah.
Specifically.
Oh yeah, I can agree with that.
And then I haven't had a lot of negative, but at the same time, it just, it does feel less, I don't know. It just, sometimes it sucks.
Oh, 100%. I haven't had a lot of negativity until obviously recently, but I just like.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah. You want to talk about that? Is that what you're saying?
No, you don't
Let's
have
not.
to.
No.
But, no, I just like, I don't know. I don't like, I just choose not to put my energy in that side of it. Like it just.
There's part of me that likes posting, but then, I post a picture. I'm trying to be, I'm working on being less of an asshole.
Yeah.
I'm really trying.
I don't think you're that much of an asshole though, so that's why I'm.
Well, it's because when in the right place, I'm able to be like conscious and pay attention to what we're talking about.
Yeah.
But in random passings, it happens so much through traveling and being places. Like it gets hard to just put everything going on in my life and my mind aside and be like, all right, so what, you want to know what bars are on my bike?
Yeah. No, I totally agree with that because I'm a very nice person and I'm too nice sometimes, but I don't know, the past couple of years I obviously have not been able to be like that, but there's just certain, like I get so many of the same messages per day of just like, what products do you use? What airbrush do you use? All this other shit that it's just like, I don't have the energy to keep answering the same questions over and over again, especially when like I say in my post that I use an Iwata airbrush and shit. Like it's not that hard to like just like go through and look, and I don't know. Well,
you can even do like designated videos and stuff about that.
Yeah.
And people will still ask
questions.
Still,
I just don't understand it.
It's weird. And then it's like you put like for me, I put myself out there quite a bit, whether it's through podcasts or social media. So like when certain people ask questions that I fucking just addressed in this podcast, it's like, bro,
right?
It's right there.
Yep. And you don't want to keep repeating the same shit over and over again. And like, and I don't mean to be this person, but time is money. Like if I'm going to sit here and be spending time messaging somebody, I'm going to be messaging that person who's going to be getting a bike or a helmet done rather than somebody who just wants to know what fucking airbrush I use. Like, sorry. But
and then
go to the art circus and you're not
getting those airbrushes for free.
Right? No, not at all. I got to pay for that
Iwata doesn't come back next week and go, hey, you know what? You told 5 people Iwata airbrushes.
Right.
They're like,
here's an airbrush. Like,
here's a keychain.
Right. Speaking of, I have one. I have enough of
It's
them.
also a bottle opener.
Right? No, it comes in handy sometimes, I will say, but not enough for me to keep doing that. But.
Yeah, so there's like, there's just I don't know. Like, I want to be more personable with people, and that's what I'm trying to work on because this is how they know me, right? They see me engaged with you having a conversation like,
and they want that same person.
Yeah, they want that same person in passing somewhere, and it's like it doesn't happen that way. And
it's exhausting though to be that person all the time. Like and like people like us, we talk to people so much that like when I am not talking to somebody, like I don't want to be talking to anybody. So like,
I like to use it. This is probably the best way to put it. It's like, I'm gonna be a better guy today. And you walk up and go, hey man, what fairing is that? And I'm like, all right, this is a so-and-so fairing. But as I'm saying the fairing and I just finished the story, somebody else walks in and goes, hey man, what fairing is that? Yeah. And I'm like, man, so it's, yeah. And this guy's like still listening, like he didn't hear the story the first time. Right. And it just never ends. It keeps going. Yep. Hey man, what fairing is that? Yeah. And it's like it never fucking ends. And you're like, bro, like, yep. It's almost like if you feed one stray cat, yeah, they all show up at the door.
That's so true.
And it's not, and I hate, I'm sorry that I just analogized. Is that a word?
Analogized.
Fucking everybody on Instagram has like stray cats coming to the table.
No, but they have to understand to a point that like, if you're messaging me that, you're not the only person messaging me that. Like there's 5 other people that are wondering the same fucking thing. And like, I don't know. I just some days
that's like, where it gets hard because nobody from the other person, not like you have your Instagram and your social media, and the other person coming in asking for a quote or a generic question, things like that. When you start getting a lot of those or a lot of followers or whatever, like those questions get insane amounts.
Oh yeah.
You know, so I don't even post as much anymore because I want to have less chances to be an asshole. Oh, yeah.
My latest thing that really sets me off that like just if you want to make me be a bitch instantly is like, because I do post a lot. Again, I have to. When I'm a traveling pinstripe artist, I have to post my locations because that's how I get my jobs. People are like, oh, you're 2 hours from me? Like, I want some pinstriping work. Like, fuck yeah, I'm down. So the thing that irritates the hell out of me is like, and I'll have stuff in my shop, and like my customers are great. They understand that I'm on the road, but they see me post that I just got home, and they're like, "Hey, what about my stuff?" And I'm like, "Homie, I did not even get to the shop yet. Like, I am literally just walking in my house. Like, you're gonna have to give me a second to chill out for like a minute."
That's one of my
like chill.
That's a trigger word for me,
right? I'm like, it's like Friday. Like, I got home this last trip. I got home like Thursday night, and I didn't even post that I was home yet. I posted that I crossed into Texas. And somebody messaged me and was like, yeah, like my stuff. I'm like, homie, I'm not even going to be at the shop till fucking Monday. So you're going to have to give me a few days to like sleep or something that I can even comprehend what you're asking me right now. But yeah, other than that, I'm good to go.
I noticed like there's my buddy Daryl's Custom Cycles here in Dallas. He's a bike shop. He's one of the guys that helps me out a lot. But he's not really good at social media. Let's just put it like that, right? And I'm not taking a jab at him. He's an older guy. Yeah. So when he posts social media, it's like, bike, and then he's fucking chilling in his pool at the house, like,
or his huge RV and
his RV, and like you see the comments goes, hey, how's my bike look? And I'm like, I can do that because I have enough work, but if I don't want to put my foot in my mouth, but that pisses me off. I'm like, bro, man, like
it makes me feel like I don't deserve a personal life.
Like, hey man, how's my fucking bike look? Yeah. I'm like, fuck you, man.
It makes you feel like you don't deserve a personal life. Like I'm already spending 12, 14-hour days in this shop, and you want me to do more? Like I'm only one person. I can only do so much. Like, and I have to take on those jobs because if not, I'll just be watching paint fucking dry, and like you'll be paying for that. So I don't know what to tell you.
There's just a lot of shit, and I think that sometimes people just don't know what else to say. So and then, you know, like I always think of them as like unsuccessful social media users. Like they don't know, like
they're just genuinely trying to find an update or whatever.
Yeah, and they don't know that's probably not the best way to do it. And also, I don't know. Like I said, I'm a professional at what I do, so I'm not fucking off while you owe me a lot of money.
Yeah, right.
Like,
and that's the other thing. Like, if you owe me money, like, I'm not going to fuck around with that. I'm self-employed. I need that money.
Yeah, if like, you pay me in full, right? And then, like, I'm sitting here fucking off going to Jamaica.
Right? Then come at me all fucking day.
Yeah, like, hey, what's on my bike? I'm like, oh, well, you know, we agreed on the 15th of October. It's fucking June, bro.
That's the other thing. Yeah. If, like, we agreed on it, like, yeah, some people. But I do have amazing customers, I will say, like, especially now. Jesus, like, now fuck all these people. Fuck all of them.
I think the first, like, 150 episodes of this podcast is me talking shit about customers, but that's
I can't.
If you're a comedian, right? You ever heard the things like comedians, like they talk about their environment. And at first, when we did this podcast, my environment was all the shitty things I saw as a cut or as someone that provided for somebody, and you just had bad customers, but they didn't know they were bad. That just felt like natural for them, like, to be that way. True. You know, and then once you get rid of those customers and you get better ones, you're like, oh shit, like this job isn't so bad anymore. Like these people appreciate what I'm doing. They appreciate my time. I associate it like this. If I'm paying a bike from you, essentially you're like my boss or my supervisor. How you treat me is how I'm gonna want to do this job.
Exactly. I say that all the time. I always say if you like are gonna do something that you think is gonna piss me off or make me feel any sort of way, wait until you get your shit back to tell me. Because like if you come at me a certain way when I have your stuff, like I can't put the same amount of love into this that I could if you
stress me out.
Yeah, like you just made this whole environment not what I need it to be to paint what I want to do. So like I said, my art and everything that I do is extremely emotional based, mood based. So like, it's why I work better on my own rather than with somebody else. Because if I'm in a bad mood that day, I ain't painting shit that's good. Like there ain't no way. So you got to keep me in a good fucking mood. If you're mad about something, that's fine. But wait till you get your shit back and then have at it towards me. I'm fine with that. But like, until then, let me put all the love and effort I can into this. So
yeah, it's very important, you know, having like a positive mindset and being like almost 99% of the customers I have, I've weeded out all the people because you start to notice their personality traits and you avoid them. But when I have 20 helmets on back order, right? Always do. Right. When someone wants a helmet and I'm accepting orders, then I'm like, okay, so what are we going to do? Like, what's a general? I don't want to know exactly. Like, I just want to make sure we're on the same page. All right, cool. We have no relationship until it's time to do the helmet. Now, when we start doing the helmet, all my attention is on you.
Yep.
Like, because I want to, all right, so what are we doing? All right, I'm going to draw this. And then we're texting for a fucking week straight, whatever, in the process of doing this. And that's because I'm giving your project 100% of my attention while we're doing it. So I don't have time to be your buddy for 3 months prior to this and let you change your mind 400 times. Just change your mind on your own. And then when it's time to do your helmet, I'm going to give you 100% of my attention because when you're hitting me up in the middle of the project, someone else has my attention right now. They paid for it and they waited for it.
Exactly.
So,
yeah, I mean, I've seen you working on someone's helmet or a tank or whatever, and you instantly stop and you'll like message them. You are giving them all your attention right then and there. And I don't know, like they know you're on a waiting list situation. So it's like when you have that going on, it's like when you're actually getting that response, you should understand, oh, he's focused on this now. Yeah. So
yeah, it's tough. But I mean, at the same time, it works out well for me. I've found a nice system that works out well where I stay sane throughout of it. Sometimes, like I was telling you earlier, badass helmet design, dude didn't see it. He wanted flames.
That's the other part that, like, if you are coming to me for a job, then, like, it turns me off a lot when you're coming to me for a job, but you don't trust me with this job. Like, that you have to come, like, if you don't trust me with it, don't come to me for it. Go to a painter that you fucking trust. Like, if you, like, every customer that I have now, I can say, like I just had a girl that had that blue and pink helmet, and she just gave me the colors and she gave me free reign. And like just people like that, and she didn't check in with me the entire time that I was doing it. I still gave her updates, but she didn't she wasn't up your ass. Didn't question anything that I was doing. She was just like, no, I trust everything that you're doing. And like, that's fucking cool to me. And like, I hold more value in that than anything else. Like the fact that you trust me to make this happen, and like, because you can tell when somebody doesn't trust you, especially being me as how young I am. You can tell that there are certain people that like come to me and like they don't trust me, and like I'm just like, don't come to me at all then. Like I don't have time for this. I have plenty of people who will.
What it boils down to is people come to you because they want your work or they want what your work provides for them socially. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? So
like, 100%.
So I've always said that like I paint motorcycles. I don't paint car hoods. I don't paint anything else but motorcycles and motorcycle helmets. Yeah. Right. So in a sense, a lot of people can look at a motorcycle paint job as another part that they need on the bike build that they're used to buying everything else off the shelf. I need those wheels, that swing arm, that motor, that paint job.
Yeah.
Put them on, right? But back in the day, people used to build all those aspects. Now they're all available, but the paint is not. The paint's still something that people have to wait. They have to, it has to be created specifically for them. It's one-off art made. Now, not everybody that gets custom paint is an art collector.
Yeah.
Per se, like they don't give a shit about art because they don't look at paint as art.
100. That's the other thing is like
they look at it as another material possession for their bike. It's the Gucci bag. It's the accessory to the image they're trying to put out. That's most people. Yeah. Now, once you get to a certain level, you attract people that do appreciate art and they do want your art. You know what I mean? I want a FASTLIFE helmet. I want a Bizarre Artist helmet. It's a weird fucking name to say it. Right? Bizarreist. Is that how you do it?
Yeah, Bizarreist.
But you're like, I want a Poland. I want this. I want that. I want something from these individuals as artists because I appreciate their style, their flavor, their art.
Yep.
And so I didn't realize that for the longest time. And I realized that the people that wanted my style were the people that I enjoyed painting for because they made me feel much more happy about doing it as opposed to the guy that was like trying to one up his buddies and needed this paint job and blah, blah, blah.
Especially when like those people are like building it for a specific event or something. Like I have that skull and filigree tank and bike that I'm working on right now. And that customer is so refreshing for me, especially like with all the bullshit I've dealt with for the past year. Like he literally just came to me. He's like, I want your skulls. I want your filigree and I want it on this bike. And like, even like this whole time, like I'm putting more detail into it than I ever even intended just because I want to though. Cause this guy has made it so that like, I want to do that like for him because he's been so cool during this process. Like I will go above and beyond for you any fucking day of the week. And that's like what people don't understand is that like, again, keeping me happy, like it sounds petty as fuck, but if you keep me happy, I'll go above and beyond for you any day. But like, you just gotta keep me fucking happy. That's just it. Like,
well, that's the hard thing about trying to explain to people about the difference between working with a painter and working with someone that's not creating anything. You know, it's just different, and it's like you know, it sucks that people, you know, customers, air quotes, have to kind of go at spending money with a different mindset that they do on the other aspects of the paint job or the bike build or the project. Yeah. But I mean, everything else is like on a shelf.
Well, this is what we were talking about. Like what we do is you put so much emotion and so much of yourself into that job, which makes it yours, that it's not just like buying something that's production like on the shelf that is done in a factory that people just sell, you know, on, like I said, on the shelf. This is like something like I put, and it's not even, I don't like saying that I put a part of my soul in every job. I put my entire soul in everything that I fucking do. So like, obviously when somebody is anything but happy with it, it's going to fuck up my mood too. Like, because that's like everything that I just tried to put into. Down.
Like,
I feel like a fucking failure now. Like I want it. And like, that's why this guy with the skull tank is so refreshing to me because like I quoted him that it would, I tried to have it finished and shipped for him this week, which it's finishing up this week. I probably won't ship it till next week or the week after, but just he's so cool about it. He's like, I just love it so much I don't even care. And I'm like, that's fucking awesome that like you love something that I'm doing that much. Like I'll do anything for you any day of the week. Like that's fucking cool. Like
I've also got to the point where I don't promise. I only like we talked about earlier. It's like that's probably the thing that customers have a hard time dealing with is that they want like sometimes they just want completion dates. Like how much longer do you think?
Yeah.
You know, or sometimes I get people reach out like, hey, how long is it going to take to do this thing? I'm like, look, waiting list right now is X amount of months. And when we get started, unless you have a date that you need it by that I'm going to agree upon.
Yeah.
I
don't
know.
Thing.
Like I want to do this thing with as much, like it takes what it takes. You know what I mean?
And that's why like I started so at first like for a while I was quoting times and everything and like sometimes I would stick in them, sometimes I couldn't. But then this year I started just not doing it at all. I was like, you know what? I have no idea how long this is going to take me. I could not fucking tell you. But honestly, when I started doing that, it bit me in the ass more than anything else. Because then they like, They wanted updates every week, which is cool. I'm cool with giving that. But, like, I can tell you what I hope to get done that week, and it's going to be nothing of what I actually get done.
So that's the problem. Is like if you hope, I mean, I have intentions of getting certain things done this week, but some of it didn't happen. And it's not always because I'm lazy. I was here fucking 10 hours every day.
Yep.
It's just things happen. Like paint is unpredictable.
Yep. 100% what we talk about all the time. It literally, it is, there's so many variables that go into it. You can't predict it. And as much as I can say, like, yes, I would like to get it done this week and get it shipped this week. And even if it doesn't happen that way, like, because like, so when I started, I'm like, you know what, I don't give out timelines because I don't know if I can stick in them. And then they would be like, oh, well, even if you had to, just throw out any random number. And I would give, like, I'm like, look, I don't know if I can stick with this. And they'll be like, that's fine. But then they would still give me that fucking.
So this is what I do, right?
Yeah.
I always tell them, like, once I start on your project, like, say if it's a helmet, right? Once I'm able to start on your helmet, you're looking at about 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Right? Once I'm able to start on your full bagger paint job, you're looking at about a month.
Yeah.
Right? Just to be safe with dry times and how many different layers of clear coat sessions I have to do.
Yep.
And so, and I always explain, like, look, man, like, I paint for a living, like, not for fun. I don't have another job that pays my bills. So your job is paying my rent or my livelihood in some form or fashion. So when I'm on it, I'm on it. But if I'm not on it, it's because I'm on someone else that already waited.
Yep.
And yours is next, or yours is 2 more down, or whatever the case may be.
Yep.
You know, so it's like, that's why it comes down to the professionalism and someone understanding whether or not you're being professional about it. I'm not Mercedes, right? I don't have a customer lounge, and I don't have someone calling you to tell you what's the next step of your paint job process.
Yeah.
Because this is art. Like, this isn't a collision center where it's like your paint or your car is now in the body shop.
Yeah, right.
We're waiting on parts currently. Like, this isn't ordering a pizza and you tell me where it's in the oven and out.
Yeah.
Like, bro, like, this is...
Especially when we talk about, like, okay, we have this set design that we want to do, but then as we get into it, there's cooler shit that we think about that we want to add or do to it. So that's stuff that we don't take into account. Like, when we first... Like, you can't quote that. Like, I can't, like, say, hey, like, here's a week, but I might have another week of cool shit I think of. Like...
Well, I mean, perfect example for me is, like, I had a dude who's awesome guy, and nothing I'm saying is about negativity at all, but he saw a helmet I painted, wanted to do his bike similar to it. I'm like, cool. So bike comes in, we start going down that path of, like, sketching and getting it to where I'm ready to present him with my idea. And then he's like, hey, man, I really like this paint job you did, and it's really badass, and what do you think it would do? I'm like, well, you know, in the situation, like, that was a $10,000 paint job, and you were wanting something in more the $4,000 range.
Yeah.
So I was like, that much detail, that many layers, that much shit. It's like, on his bike, it was going to put him in the $6,000 range.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I felt bad, but what happened, or the part that was hard for me, he was completely fine with paying the extra money for that. He says, fuck it, I want what I want. I'm like, my man.
Right.
And I'm like, fuck, like, I allotted time in my head to do this project for this level paint job. Now he wants this level. It's going to be another week.
Yeah.
Now the next job
is pushed back.
Is pushed back.
Yep.
And so it's like this weird thing where, like, that dude paid for my attention and he's getting it now, but now he wants to pay for more of it. And I can't just say, like, all right, well, you got to get back at the back of the line now because you changed it.
Exactly. It's a tough. That's what, like, when it comes to custom stuff, it's not like I'm just in this production line in this factory that I can just produce this many products and have them, or even like when something's on back order, produce this many products. Like, this is something that if it's something custom, I obviously want to include you in the process because it's your fucking helmet or it's your bike. And then not only that, but you have helmets are one thing, especially with what you do, that you order a new helmet, but somebody that brings in a bike, I've had so many times that I'm like, yeah, the paint job will take me this long if you're coming at me with, like, a perfect factory job. But there's been plenty of times that I started into a paint job that has so much body work and so much shit that was done wrong underneath of it that now I'm stripping your bike down to bare fucking metal and we're starting all fucking over, which is not what I originally quoted you at all. But, like, I don't know what you're bringing. Yeah, it's like
you can't warranty your work on top of things like that. So
exactly, like, I can't take that into consideration with every single job. Like, there's been plenty of jobs that have come in that they're like, yeah, it's factory, and I'm taking a blowgun to it, and it's fucking, the paint's flying off, and I'm like, homie, this ain't factory, but all right, like, I'll fix it, don't worry. Like,
yeah, that shit, it's tough, but I mean, I don't know, can't live with them, can't live without them, right? Customers.
That's the truth, man. And you always, I mean, regardless of how many like horrible ones that come through, like there's always. And
dude, I have the best customers now. I'm fucking stoked.
I'm just getting into that point that I'm like, I have like literally, like I mean, like I said, the past year I've been dealing with so much shit, just like both personally and career wise, that like now I'm just finally getting into the point that I'm like, I'm at the customer base that I want. I'm at the level that I want. Like, I'm cool with it. Like, I'm producing work that I'm actually like proud of, like putting out. So it's a good place to be finally.
So how much motorcycle trips have you been able to take so far? Like
a lot. Like, so, I mean, so I went to Daytona every year. Daytona was like my thing just because, I don't know.
You're a Northeastern chick,
yeah. So, yeah, Daytona was just right there every year. And then I went to Sturgis my first time in 2019, I think. And I worked it. I pinstriped there. And I vowed to never work a big rally like that again. Because as a biker myself, I like to go and ride. And even like Street Vibrations is coming up in Reno, and I got a little bit of an attitude with Joe because he's like, yeah, I have 3 bikes at your house right now or whatever, 2 bikes. He's like, we're going to take them back up to Street Vibrations. And I'm like, well, where the fuck's my bike going to go? Because like now, like I need one too, homie. Like, so when Sturgis happened and I worked it, I didn't bring my bike at all. I vowed to myself, I was so miserable. I was like, I have to bring my bike every time I go. So last year I took, well, I guess 2019 was when I traveled a little bit. I traveled at least once a month. So then from then on, I was like, I have to do a trip once a month. I loved it so much. And then this year, I kind of joked about it because I left that shop in April, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to go on tour, and I'm just going to paint everywhere. And I joked about it. Like, I wasn't serious about it. And then I had certain trips planned. Like, my trip to Pennsylvania was planned, and then one of my trips to California was planned, and Sturgis was planned. But the whole month of driving up to New York and like across to California, then up to Northern California and shit, that like some of that shit was unplanned. But my first solo trip that I took this year was Fandango. I went down there and I camped out a little bit. And then I didn't have my bike the whole time that I drove around the country. But Sturgis, I had my bike shipped up there because what was I doing in Sturgis? Was I painting? Oh, yeah, I did that women's event thing. So I had to bring all my pinstriping stuff up there. So I drove up, and Rob's friend Greg actually brought my bike up for me. So that was really cool. Daytona 2017 was the first time I ever rode a Harley because I had Yamahas all before that because I'm a tiny person. So, like, Harleys were, like, intimidating for me. So then I went to Daytona Bike Week without a bike. I flew there, and I was fucking miserable without a bike because that was the first year that I went that I could ride myself and I didn't have a bike. So there was this one guy that was just like, hey, I have a Road King. He's like, but if you can ride it, like you can ride it. And I was like, I don't know if I can, but I'm going to figure it the fuck out because I need to ride at this point. So like I went from a little Yamaha 250 to this fucking Road King that like I just like ripped around Daytona one night because I just was that miserable. So then ever since I've been trying to ride to every event that I can. This year, like I said, I've been driving to most of them, unfortunately, but riding when I get there, so yeah, I can't really complain. But I did, so starting this year, I did the East Coast FXR Jam, the West Coast FXR Jam, and then Sturgis, Born Free, Fandango, and I think that's it. I didn't do Daytona this year, unfortunately. I wish I did, but I was...
What else you got coming this year?
I have Street Vibrations at the end of September. I have another Airbrush Art Circus in California in October. I am going to SEMA this year. It's not, I don't know how that's going to go because a bunch of people aren't going to be there, which kind of sucks because I've never been to SEMA. So I would love to have gone when it was like what SEMA is. But at the same time, I'm glad to be going because honestly, I don't know if it's going to be a car show or a show anymore for that much longer anyway. So I'm stoked to check that out a little bit. And then November through February, I don't really do much but paint. Like I stay in Texas and just paint the whole time because that's when people actually want to take apart their bikes. But other than that, I'll definitely make Daytona next year. There's some like little events around Texas that we've all been posting about that I probably will hit up. But I I don't plan anything. Like I like when I say that I plan these trips, I want to go to these trips. I don't know honestly if I'm gonna make it until like the week before. So like I just kind of
like wing it.
Yeah, literally I wing everything.
Yeah, I mean this week on Monday I was literally sitting on my couch like, I think I'm gonna go to Denver this week and just do podcasts.
Right.
So I'm like, fuck, I need to line up with people.
Yeah.
Like, who's available? There's people I want to talk to, and it's like the people that I really wanted to talk to weren't available. So I was like, fuck, man. Like, well, what about Phoenix?
Right? No, but that's the awesome part about what we do, and that's why I structured my business the way it is, because I like to wake up and just be like, yeah, I want to go to Colorado today. Let's fucking go to Colorado today, and we go. And that's why I started traveling and pinstriping, because then if I wake up tomorrow and I'm like, let's go to Colorado, I'll just post on my story like, hey, who's in Colorado and wants some pinstriping? Somebody usually comes up, and I'm like, all right, going to Grand Junction today, I guess. Like, let's go figure it the fuck out. Then I just keep going and paying for it as I go. And then I might not always get back with more money. I might be in the same financial position as when I left, but I just did a fucking coast to coast trip, and I can't complain.
When I first started traveling to NorCal to paint, I used to fucking go up there and just rape and pillage.
Right.
Just these dudes, like back in the day, like 7 years ago, 5 years ago, 6 years ago, like in 2014, I'd fly up there. Like everybody up there grows weed, or they used to. Before it was like, I think it was becoming legal, but it wasn't quite legal yet.
Yeah.
But all the dispensaries used weed that was still grown illegally.
Yeah.
So everybody grew weed, and everybody did insurance scams up there, right? People would like do these over the top, like they'd build a bike and it'd be like valued at $75,000, and then it'd fall over in the parking lot and they'd get like $25,000-$30,000 for it, and then they'd do all this crazy shit to their bikes. And they'd pay me to come up there and airbrush and do graphics on the bikes. And but yeah, if that shit changed my life, because that was when I first started like travel. I mean, I traveled for paint before that, but it was just like to North Carolina.
Yeah.
But going to NorCal just seemed like
NorCal's a different world.
It's fucking heavy motorcycles.
It's a different world up there. And I didn't, like this year was the first time I've ever been to California. So I didn't even start traveling, like I've never been out of the country, but I didn't even start traveling until about, I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago. Before that, I was never off the East Coast. Like I was never, I'm still not north of New York and everything. And then my ex-husband was a pilot, so I kind of got like the fun stuff of like being married to that. I could fly for free anywhere, so I started traveling then. But then when I started driving everywhere was really when I feel like I started experiencing stuff, because like that's when like I said, you could see all the landscapes change, but then like you could see like, oh, this is that random spot, like I'm gonna go drive over here and like see this, like Arches National Park. I never intended on going there, but 70 goes like right through there, and I wasn't even gonna go until one of my friends saw me in Utah, and he called me and he was like, yo, if you're near Arches, you need to go. And I was like, nah. I said, I don't have time for that. Like, I got to get to coast. And then like I was going down 70 and it says Arches National Park, like make a right. And I was like, well, fuck it, let's go. Like I didn't think I was going to do it, but let's do it. And like it was one of those things that like the universe was telling me like everything was meant to be. Cause I even like I got to Arches National Park, and like it's like $30 to get in, but she was only taking cards, and my card got shut down because I was traveling and I forgot to report it to them. So I was like, look, I only got cash. And she was like, don't worry about it, just go ahead. And I was like, all right, word, let's go. And like I drove through the whole park and everything, and like it was just a really cool like thing that I would have never experienced if I didn't drive from coast to coast. Like it's just really cool to, and that's the other part that like I feel like even in the last 6 months of traveling, like I feel like just in experiences, like that's where I struggle with, like I forget how young I am, because I feel like I'm 26, but I feel like I'm fucking 36. Just even in the last 6 months, I've got to like experience more than what most people get in their life. And like I'm not trying to brag, I'm just like that thankful for it. Like I would never have intended to even experience those things. Like it just happened that way, because like my spontaneous like personality is just like, fuck it, say yes and figure like the rest out later. And like it's been working out for me this far, so mostly anyway.
Yeah, it's it sucks whenever you like gotten older and have kids and shit, and you want to just go be a fucking nomadic
right? See, that's
wonder.
where like I've taken advantage of that because I don't have kids, I'm not married, none of that. I'm just like, nobody can tell me nothing. I'm going, man.
Take
so
full advantage.
Oh yeah, and I still am, and even now, like I'm so fucking tired. I want nothing more than just to sit at my apartment. But like,
yeah, as soon as you do and sit down, you're like, I'm hungry again.
Right? No, literally. So when I was on this last trip, like we went to Iowa, Bullhead City, Born Free, Lodi, and then I came home. And I like as I was on my way, the whole time I was just like, dude, all I want to be is home right now. Like I'm so exhausted. I haven't been home for more than 3 days in about 4 fucking months. Like all I want is to just go home and sit on my couch. And I was sitting there today. I've been home a week. As of today, I've only been home 7 days. And I'm like, fuck. Now what do I do? Like, I'm like, now where's the next spot to go? Because like, I don't want to sit here anymore.
When I was on my way home from Sturgis, I went the long way. So everybody else left Sturgis, went home, and I went to Sturgis to Salt Lake.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, I was torn between going to California or just cutting through Colorado home. And I ended up going Colorado home. But the whole time, like, I'm just like, all right, so when I come back out here, I'm going to go to this highway. Do that. I want to see this place. Like the whole time I'm just planning the next trip. But it's cool because like you
knew all those highways to take them because you've traveled so much. Like that's the cool part about it. Like that's the part about traveling that I don't think anybody realizes is like when I get on Instagram then and I see somebody leaving Sturgis and like going through Fort Collins and shit in Colorado, I'm like, I know exactly the route you're taking. Or like earlier when I was like, yeah, I took 70 across Colorado. You knew exactly which route I took. Yeah. And like that's the cool part to me about traveling is like when you do talk to somebody who's as well traveled as you, that you can like picture exactly where they are when they're telling the story. Yeah. Like that's the cool part.
There's still some blacked out areas that I haven't been to yet, like super far Pacific Northwest I haven't done.
I've never been to Oregon or Washington yet.
Neither have I.
Yeah, I really want to go up
so
there.
on my list of states I haven't ridden in, I only have Oregon, Washington, Idaho, Minnesota, and Iowa, and North Dakota.
See, and that's the other thing. Like a lot of these trips I drove, and so now my goal is to ride all this shit, and like I'm excited for that. Plus, I'm just excited because before this, like, because I have a Sportster now, but before that, like I said, I only had Yamahas, which like they're not fucking reliable enough to get me across country. Like, I mean, Yamaha, the brand might be, but my specific bikes were not at all. So
they make good musical instruments too,
right? Yeah. Right. That's true.
Speakers,
good speakers, sound box.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like the traveling thing, unfortunately, it is very. It's crazy how like black or white it is for people when it comes to motorcycle travel. Either people fucking swear by it and it changed their life, it's transformative, and all these other big words that you know that just explain how amazing it is, or it's like. It's the heat, it's the cold, it's the rain, it's the boring, it's this. It's like it's just so black or white. Like people either love it to death or they hate it.
I think for me it's just like I don't know how to explain. Like I can't put my passion for motorcycles into words. I can sit here all day and say like, "Oh, I have a passion for two wheels." Like sure I do, but like there's something regardless of whether I'm riding across country or riding to go get a cup of coffee or whatever, I just want to fucking be riding. Like just when I'm on a bike, I don't care how long it is. Like that's just cool to me. And like, and it's not about like you talk to Joe and he like lives off of those long distance. Like, and good for him. I'm glad for him. I'm stoked that you found that. But like, I'm cool with just being on a bike. Like I get bitchy when I don't get to be on a bike, even when like, and I always say I love riding on the back with Joe because like he can go into turns way faster than I feel comfortable doing and all that stuff. But like I get bitchy at a point because like I like being on my own bike. And if that means even just waking up and taking my bike around the block for a quick 10-minute cruise before my day, then like that's gonna set me right. Like I'm fine with that. And like, so I don't know how to explain it. Like I don't put myself into a category of like long distance riding or just like loving, like there's just something about being on a motorcycle and on my own motorcycle, not even but like something about operating my own and being on my own motorcycle that like is a feeling like that I can't put into words no matter what.
Some people have been able to like verbalize it in a way that makes a lot of sense and it really hits the nail on the head. But Yeah, I'm the same way. Like when people are like, "Hey, man, review the ride." I'm like, fuck, man. Like, I don't know. I'm
in a better fucking mood. That's it. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Like,
well, you can have, like, on the trip that I was with you to Cali, we all had different experience.
Yeah. Like, this dude didn't have the best.
Yeah.
But I mean, I still loved it. Like, like the last couple of years since I started my business and having to change my whole structure around not being able to do some of these bigger trips has hurt me.
Oh yeah.
Like,
and that's why I struggle so much, like, with working with anybody, or even doing just paintwork. Like, as I try to structure my business around being able to take these trips and being able to spontaneously make these trips longer if I want to. Like, hey, like, I'm in Southern California, let me just ride up to NorCal quick for a few days and then I'll just fucking ride home. Like, that's the way to go.
Yeah, well, for me, it's worked out well because as I've gotten older, and my work has gotten more, in a sense, valuable to the customers that want it. You know, it's like, okay, I can paint less bikes, which means I'm less married to the shop. And then it just overall, like, it balances out well where I have this perfect amount of time to go out and find inspiration in all aspects of my life through traveling and motorcycles and friends and all that shit, and then come back so motivated to paint.
Well, you have it set up right where you don't take on any bikes in those months that you can travel. And that is the cool part about what we do is our busy season is during the season that you don't want to travel anyway. Like, the summer is where you want to go everywhere. So, like, that's the cool part about what we do is most people are on their bikes that time too. So we can set it up in a way that if we make enough money during that off season of traveling, which is technically like the off season of riding too, that you can sit there and ride the whole time of that season. And that's the fucking fun part. And that, like, I get inspiration from that too, just being around not only people like other painters. Like, I get inspiration from the Airbrush Art Circus, but it's a different kind of inspiration when you're around fellow bikers, because, like, now these are, like, when you're around artists, like, it's inspiring because these are people who inspire you. But then when you're around bikers, like, these are people who get excited about your work. Yeah. And then just live. Exactly. They live the life. They live, like, your paintwork is such a big part of, like, the life that they live. Like, that's fucking cool to me.
Yeah. I don't know, man. It's a, the motorcycle culture is awesome. And traveling, riding, the friends, like how many people we know across the country.
Dude,
you know,
there's so many people. I can confidently say, and this is all from traveling and pinstriping too, but I can confidently say that I have at least one, like, biker friend in every major city that I could find a place to stay or find something that I needed if I really absolutely, like, broke down somewhere and needed it. And like I have, one of the last times I went out to NorCal, I stopped in Albuquerque and I did a pinstriping job, and I ended up being such good friends with this girl, all because, like, she followed me on, and I didn't even follow her at all. She just hit me up. She's like, hey, if you're coming through Albuquerque at all, like, I want my bike pinstriped. And then I ended up, like, just clicking with her and being such good friends. And I'm like, if it weren't for motorcycles, fuck the paint part. If it weren't for motorcycles alone, like, me and you both being into bikes, we would not be here right now. And like, that's what's fucking cool, that, like, motorcycles is what brought me and you together. Like, that's fucking neat to me. And, like, that group of people, like I said, like, I go and hang out with my paint family all the time, and it's a family, but, like, the motorcycle world is such a different type of family that, like these people are fucking here for you no matter what. Like,
well, so now that you're riding more, you're kind of, like, more home base out of Texas. Like, how are you with, like, all the different women's groups that are kind of located throughout the state and stuff?
So I don't,
like, you don't necessarily, are you not necessarily wanting to be a part of them, but you still support the idea and the cause behind it?
Yeah, so I don't want to be a part of them. No, I will say that. I don't, and okay, so I'll say that I'm not against them, but I don't agree with, here's the best way that I can explain it, is when it comes to riding, when it comes to my paintwork, when it comes to anything, I don't want me being a female being the precedent for it, or, like, the whole reason for it. So if I don't like when somebody doesn't come to me, though, because I'm a female, and they don't think that I can paint because I'm a female. So I don't want to do this. I don't like being segregated because I'm a female, so I'm not going to segregate men. Does that make sense? And, like, be part of a women's only group.
You don't want to use that opportunity to separate yourself from men and women in motorcycle riding, but not paint work?
I don't want to be separated
You don't
because
want to
of
be
my
a
gender
hypocrite
at
for
all.
one way or the other.
Exactly. Yeah. And like, I struggle with it because I know that I've only been recently opened my eyes to this, that there are young girls out there who do feel intimidated by the men in this industry and will only talk to the women in it. Like, okay, so I was at, what was that motor show called? I think it was just the motor show over at Texas Motor Speedway in May.
Yeah, they had the whole thing with the women's...
Yeah, they had a women's motor show and stuff. And, like, I painted a bike for a chick in that show. So I went up and to go see it. But then I was sitting there with Scott Holbrooks and his girlfriend, Melissa. And Melissa was sitting on her bike. And there was this, like, I don't know, she was probably, like, 12 or 13. And she was just, like, this girl just, like, staring at Melissa. And, like, Melissa, like, read it very well. And she was like, do you want to come sit on my bike? And she was like, yeah, actually I do. She's like, I want to ride a bike. She's like, but I don't know how, and I've never sat on one before. And she's like, well, fuck yeah, come sit on mine. And then, like, her dad was telling, like, just talking to us and saying how shy she was and stuff. And, like, so I never like saying, like, oh, I'm a woman painter, I'm a woman rider. Like, I like just being a painter, just being a rider. Like, I don't want my gender to come in involved with any of it. But then when I see a little girl like that isn't inspired until she sees another woman doing it, that's when I'm like, okay, it is important to a point. And that's kind of why I did the Women's Day at the Buffalo Chip, because that more so was, we're giving, like, there was a welder, there was a silversmith person, there was a leather worker, there was me, the pinstriper, and we were just giving people, men or women, the opportunity to just try this. Because, like, there's plenty of people that are like, man, I would pick up airbrushing or pinstriping if I had the resources to do so, but they don't always. So that was kind of cool to be a part of. But as far as, like, the women's groups and stuff, I think they're a very cool idea, especially if, like, that's just what you're into. But I don't like being segregated based off my gender, so I'm not going to do it to myself necessarily. Like, I'm just going to ride and just be friends with people, man or woman. So
yeah, that makes sense. That's a good way to put it. Like, it seems like you've thought about it.
I do, because I'm asked this question a lot, especially like being a female painter, but like, I just wish it wasn't a thing. I wish I was just a writer or just a painter. Like, I wish it didn't, because again, I never want somebody to be like, and because people do this to this day, but I work so hard for it not to happen that I never want someone to be like, oh, she only got that far because of her looks or because she's a female. Like, I don't know. I want to get that far because my work is that fucking good.
Well, if you start twerking on your Instagram next week,
right?
I'll be like, hey, dude, come on. I thought you were fucking professional.
Right?
Well, see, I feel like my wife has similar views with you on that, because she rides her own bike too.
Yeah.
But she doesn't want to join up like an all-girl group. But at the same time, like the one camp out when she was on her wide glide, when she had that thing was wobbling like crazy, but she was still doing 90 with the rest of us, keeping up. And like, everyone was like, hey, you're a fucking badass just for doing that. And it's not just because she's a girl. It's just like, you could have died.
Yeah. Well, so I was actually so nervous riding at Sturgis because, of course, like, when I planned on going up there, I was like, I'm by myself. I'll ride by myself, whatever. But then when I get up there, I'm hanging out with, like, fucking Joe and shit. And I'm like, fuck, man. So then I was like, well, can you come and, like, let me, like, take me to go get my bike? Because I had it shipped up there. And then I didn't think of it. I got my bike out of the trailer. I'm like, fuck, I got to ride back with these fuckers. Like, Joe's been riding for, like, how long? Like, fucking 20-some years? Like, fuck, man. And then, like, I'm over there, like, I was actually keeping up with him. I was so proud. And not only of me, but of my little Sportster. I'm like, shit, like, this thing actually got some get up and go to
Maybe we need to question Joe.
Anyway, you guys should. You probably should. He's a little, I was passing him a few times.
All the times he talks about carving through the canyons.
We're fucking ripping, and it's like,
I
gets passed up by a Sportster.
Yeah, I saw these Dynas, and I passed them, and okay.
He yelled at me, actually, because when we first riding, that was the first time I was on my bike in a couple weeks, so I was, like, ripping, and I didn't give a, like, I was like, I'll get pulled over. I can't get pulled over, but I was like, fuck it, at this point, I don't give a shit. Like, nothing can bother me. I'm on my bike, whatever. And, like, he was yelling at me. He's like, Shayna, he's like, you are going to get us pulled over. You need to slow the fuck down. And I was like, okay.
Cops are hot up there, man, like in Sturgis. It sucks because you're on such amazing roads, but there's just too many people and too many cops. You can't really rip them, so you got to find a new way to enjoy them. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Which is why I think a lot of people do which I think is cool about Sturgis, that it's kind of expanded into a couple of weeks rather than just one specific week, that it's just do what you want. And it's cool that it expands, like, I feel like it's like the whole country almost celebrates Sturgis, because it's like,
a lot of the younger generation, like, they've always looked at Sturgis as if it's not their thing, but it's like it's our responsibility every generation to make it our thing because it's a biker thing. And so you have to go there and you have to kind of start to allow the baton to be passed to you, and then you got to turn Sturgis into what you want it to be.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's a
as
whole
a generation.
evolution.
Yeah.
So.
You know, not like, you know, it's like right now it's still the generation, like Sturgis is still heavily the generation of the 2000s, the chopper scene, the biker build-off scene. So
yeah,
all the stars from that are still in the motorcycle industry still kind of are the dictators of what is cool and taking place in Sturgis. And a lot of the dudes are cool as shit and everything's cool, but like it's starting to kind of like the baton is starting to kind of be passed to the performance scene.
Oh yeah.
Right. The people that have been a part of the performance motorcycle scene, like the many of them, like the name a shop that's been building Dynas and FXRs and performance baggers for the last 7, 8, 10 years. That's kind of like the new generation has taken over, and we're going to Sturgis now, and it's like every year we see more and more bikes like what we ride. But in 5 or 10 years, man, it'll, you know, the people that are just like, oh, I decided to finally come to Sturgis because now it's what we did. It's like, God, man, you got to just go to all of it, man. Experience Sturgis in its entirety and all the different weird ways it is what it is, you know?
Well, I mean, like, look at us going to these chopper shows. We're on regular style motorcycles, not custom built choppers.
Yeah.
You know, like we have springs. Some of these are still hardtails. So, and it's not that we don't fit in. We just make it our thing.
Yeah, we just party anyway. Like,
yeah.
we party the same.
But that's
hey,
cool,
you drink, we drink.
Right, but that's the cool thing about it though too, and like that's the part of like being an influencer. You don't necessarily realize is you're influencing these people to come to Sturgis then because it's the group that they want to be a part of. Like it's not necessarily like, I get what you're saying where like you should definitely like experience all of it because it's all part of the bike industry and it's just all fucking cool. But at the same time, like, it's even cooler that you can influence somebody to the point that they want to be a part of it now. And now you're just making it that much bigger. Mm-hmm. Like, that's the cool part to me, that you have that pull over somebody just by, like...
Well, I think a lot of people, I mean, Joe's that way. Joe, I mean, people, like, I've hung out. You were just with Joe at Born Free. You know what that's like. Mm-hmm. Bro, can I take a picture with you? Love that podcast you did. You fucking, man, you changed my life, man. Like... Joe's
not even
that guy.
just at the at Born Free, just fucking everywhere. Even like if you going to his hometown with him, forget trying to fucking go out and like have a date night or anything. Like he's just talking to people the whole time. Like, which is cool though. Like it's cool that you can have that positive of an influence on people. Like that's what we all kind of hope for, to like be like that. And even just like how he is with the FXRs and getting so many people on an FXR, like. Guess who's getting an FXR next?
Yeah, she had a bagger. Just skip that phase.
Right, just skip that phase. I don't know if Joe would let me.
They're old. Get something new.
Yeah, you can put all your shit in the bags and just go travel around and paint.
I want to.
Yeah, or you can
I have all
put a bunch of tools in the bag of your FXR to keep it on the road. Joe's pissing his pants like, fuck you, Jay.
Right?
What is it?
I'm surprised he's not calling me right now.
There's one time he came by the shop to do the second podcast that him and his brother were here.
Yeah.
And we had went and did something. I think we went to go eat real quick. And I was like, hey, you want to ride the bagger? I was going to take so many pictures of him riding the bagger down the street. And he knew what was up.
I even, like, so when I got my bike shipped to Sturgis, then obviously I got it shipped back. And he came back from Sturgis with me. And, like, I even asked him going down there because we drove down there. I said, if you want to ride back, like, you can ride my bike back. Like, because I know you probably don't want to drive my truck. Like, and he's like, no, I'm not going to ride that Sportster. It's like, come the fuck on, man. Like, it's a fucking Sportster. And then, like, I was kind of glad that I got to ride it back. I was like, okay, I was just being nice anyway. But
no, it's all good. Well, shit, man, I appreciate you coming up here doing all this stuff.
I appreciate you having me come up here. This is a good time. So.
Yeah.
Fun times. Can't complain.
Awesome. Well, hey, tell everybody where to find you on Instagram and.
So I'm just 13 Street Airbrushing on Instagram.
All one word.
Yep, all one. It's just one. The number 1, the number 3, TH Street Airbrushing. All one thing.
You have a website or anything like that?
I used to. I don't think it works anymore. To be
yeah,
honest.
It costs money every month.
No, it does. Like that's what I mean. So I don't think about like I don't. I post on my personal Facebook of just Shayna Guy. But yeah, just 13 Street Airbrushing on Instagram, and that's you. That has my cell phone number on it and everything. So.
Oh, you should have did that.
Yeah.
Right.
Get one of those pictures where they zoom in real quick and they keep going out just a little bit further.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I appreciate it. Thank you for coming out, and stoked seeing you grow in this industry.
Stop. Thanks. I'm going to cry.
No, well, again, thank you for having me up here, and it was a great time. And yeah.
Sure.